Welcome to the September 22nd, 2015 meeting of the Pequannock Township Council. Ms. Marsh?
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in a pledge of allegiance followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for the individuals serving our nation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
The clerk will please call the roll.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Here.
Mayor Winterfield?
Here. Okay, the first thing on the agenda is presentations. And it's going to be the skateboard presentations. Before we get started, though, I'd just like to thank all of you who came out for that. For or against, I'm just really happy to see people interested. And for the young people here, the skaters here, to know that this is probably your first council meeting and you really are learning about how the government works. So I just want to tell you that there's about 12 different forms of government in New Jersey. We're the Faulkner Act, and it's the weak mayor. The mayor is not elected. The mayor is chosen between the council. And David Holberg, here to my left, is our executive administrator, and he runs the town on a daily basis. Basically, the council sets policy and that we approve budgets. The rest of the day-to-day operation is run by David, and he does a fine job. So I just want you to know, like, kind of how the organization is, because you may not be familiar with how it is or how things function, but that's how we function here in Pequannock Township. That's my little history lesson.
Okay,
So-
Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to leave by 9:15, just so you know.
I'm not going on. No.
Okay. No, I just want to make everybody aware that I have to leave by.
I just want the young people to understand how.
Yeah, no, I know.
You're the excuse.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so we're ready to start. Oh, I missed my speech. The rest of you will have to fill them in.
I have to repeat that.
And Steve, if you just introduce you and your name and address for the record. That's okay.
While Steve's doing that, I'm Tasha Rifkin, 44 Duncan Avenue, Pequannock. This is Stephen Connolly, my husband, 44 Duncan Avenue, Pequannock.
Thank you.
And while Steve is setting up, I just want to thank the council for giving us time to do this presentation tonight. I really appreciate it. And also for everybody coming out tonight, as the mayor said, thank you so much, whether you're for or against us. Thank you for being interested, and thank you for coming out on a school night and a work night.
Another will like warm up and sometimes cool down. Yeah, well,
It's gotta go through a cool.
yeah, that's what I thought.
But it's turning off.
It's turning off.
As soon as that stops winking, then you turn it back on.
No, we're okay.
So give it 30 or 45 seconds to cool down.
There, right?
So I just want to say Steve is a skater. I'm not a skater, but I'm here as an advocate, as a parent. We have 2 children who I know would make use of this park, and as you can see, there are many children in town who are very interested in seeing this park happen. Just being at the hoedown and hearing from youth ministers and Cub Scout leaders and children and parents alike, there's a lot of support for this. So we're really proud of the fact that we've made so much progress and got unanimous support from the Parks and Rec Committee last week to move forward with this conversation. and it sounds like we've made some
Now it's
progress.
not blinking, so.
Okay, press the power button and just once. And see what happens.
Is it blinking green?
It's green.
All right, let it
Green is
do
good.
its thing.
I was too anxious. There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Can you guys see that?
So as I said before, my name is Tasha. This is my husband, Stephen. High-level overview of our agenda tonight. I'll be speaking through the slideshow. We have a short 6-minute video presentation after that, and then obviously questions and comments from those that are here. And just so everybody here is aware of the process, this is the typical development process for a skate park. So right now we're appealing for town support. So that's what we did last week with the Parks and Recs Committee. That's why we're here tonight. Obviously, Steve and I can't make decisions on our own about budgets and land inventory and design. So that's where the community involvement is really key. And that's why it's great to see so many interested parties here. So the next steps are usually figuring out the budget, figuring out where the skate park would go, the design of the skate park, which also drives the budget, and then any bids and building of the skate park, obviously. I just want to start with some skateboarding facts. So 1 in 7, what does that mean? Well, skateboarding is popular. In 2008, there were over 13 million skateboarders in the US, and the source for all this information, by the way, is the Sporting Good Manufacturers Association. It's a mainstream sport, $4.8 billion market. The estimation is that 93.7% are under 24 years old. So obviously a lot of young people get involved, but I know that there's a lot of adults here too tonight that skate. And with 80 million people in the US between 5 and 24 years old, that suggests that 1 in 7 are skateboarders. So that's where that number comes from. Okay, so Pequannock population versus need. And I'll be speaking into the mic, but please follow from left to right on this chart. There's a skate park development guide, and I have a hard copy here tonight if anybody's interested in seeing it, but there's a really handy tool within there that helps you estimate based on your population about how many skateboarders would you have. The question came up a lot last week, well, how many skateboarders do you have? We have a stack of petitions here, so we know that there are kids who are skateboarding, interested in skateboarding, but you can't go into every backyard and figure out how many skateboarders there really are. So using this calculation, based on our population of 15,500, there's approximately 467 casual skateboarders, we would estimate, just in Pequannock, and that's based on 3% of the population. The core skateboarders, so those that skateboard 1 time per week or more, the estimate is 27.9% of that population, so you would figure about 130 skaters. At peak capacity, let's say 1/3 of those skaters are at the skate park. That gives you 43 skaters at a time. So then you can estimate out, based on 150 square foot per skater, that you have 6,400 square feet. So that falls right into the neighborhood skate park, which I've circled there. There's different skate parks. There's skate spots, neighborhood skate parks, regional skate parks, which are the really large ones, and we fall right in the middle there with the neighborhood skate park. And just keep in mind that any of these numbers will increase. If we have programs like Parks and Rec, where we can have classes teaching kids how to skateboard, there's going to be more skateboarders. And here's a definition again of skate spot versus skate park. That design on the right-hand side there is a skate park. So that's something similar to what you would see in Maplewood or Livingston. So the skate spot is where skateboarding is permitted, but it's just a small number of structures. So a neighborhood skate park, which is where we fall, would have traditional elements of a skate park with a little bit of everything to appease neighborhood skaters. And a lot of times they build in practice areas for younger skaters too, who may not be able to do all of the big jumps, and which is really great because that's kind of a learning area where they won't be intimidated by maybe the really good skaters. And here's the numbers for Pequannock, and these are off of the Parks and Rec site. We have 7 playgrounds, 10 baseball and little league fields, 6 tennis courts, 2 handball courts, and that's why we're here tonight. We don't have any skate parks or skate spots. So why does Pequannock need a skate park? Well, without a skate park, the city is a skate park and will continue to be a skate park. So I think we all know Marco's Driveway, Newark Pompton Turnpike, we've heard too, parking lots behind the postal office, you could see there, these are all spots that we've heard are skate spots, and they're dangerous too. We heard last week from a parent who said, I don't want to stop my child from skating, but I also don't want them in the back of the post office where they may get hit by a truck. It's really dangerous. Skateboarders will continue to skateboard. And this is a quote from that skate park development guide that I mentioned before, the more effort that's put into stopping it, the further underground skateboarding becomes. The further it becomes, the more it's treated as a negative influence on local youth, and then the cycle continues. So skateboarders get a bad rap because they're hanging out in these places, but they really have no other place to go. Parks are gathering places. Skate parks are a gathering place where youth can practice their sport and socialize in a place where they feel supported by their community. So it can only be a positive thing. And as I mentioned before, compared to other sports, skateboarding is underserved. Come on in. As I mentioned before, there's Parks and Rec program opportunities. If you look on the websites of, say, the Skateplex down in Long Branch, they actually have classes where kids can learn how to skateboard, which is great. It's beneficial for local business. Skaters come and hang out at the skate park. Then maybe they walk over to Newark Compton Turnpike, get something to drink, get some lunch. Maybe a parent drove them here and they can go out to lunch together. It's low cost to participate, so all economic groups in town can benefit from that. You don't have to buy a lot of equipment. Selling point for the town also is that we support family activities. So if a family was considering moving to Pequannock and they see that we have a skate park and maybe their child is interested in skating, they say, you know what, they support family activities. That's great. It's a safe place for skaters to go, as I mentioned before. And as I also mentioned before, we saw a lot of support at the hoedown. Parents, kids, police officers stopped by, Cub Scout leaders, an anti-drug group who we were seated next to was really excited about this, and also church representatives from town. Common questions and concerns, and as I said last week, I think every parent can relate to this picture, and that's why I put it in there. So injuries, this is something that we hear a lot. What about all of the injuries? Well, this was interesting. When I started researching for the slideshow, I thought that this was especially interesting that it's number 6. Behind basketball, bicycling, football, soccer, and baseball comes skateboarding with sport-related injuries. And this was from the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. Another thing that we hear a lot is liabilities and lawsuits. Well, what if somebody falls down at the skate park and they sue the city? Well, also from the skate park development guide, they said that recreational use statutes in most states read something like this. If a premises is freely open to the public for recreational purposes, a person is injured while using the premises, the landowner has no duty to that user to keep the premises safe. So long story short, it's skate at your own risk. And I also verified this with a skate park designer that we've been in touch with just to get feedback from him, and he said yes, as long as it's designated as a hazardous sport and you have signs up that say skate at your own risk, that covers the liability. And the second bullet point here, most municipal skate parks will fall under the city's umbrella insurance coverage, especially considering that it's responsible for fewer injuries than other common sports. And here's an example, rules and regulations. If you go to any skate park, they're typically written like this, and the first statement here is know your limits and abilities. You're responsible for your own safety. So again, skate at your own risk. A question came up last week about nonprofits. From the Public Skate Park Guide, they said that we don't recommend that you form a nonprofit if your mission is to create a single skate park. Most skate park advocacy groups choose to partner with an existing nonprofit instead of forming one themselves. It's known as a fiscal sponsorship, and that the parent organization is sponsoring your group by providing your group with benefits. And our proposed sponsor, and we have a representative here tonight who can speak to this more, would be Solid Foundation. They're in Midland Park, and I'll tell you more about them on the next slide. So, as I said, they're in Midland Park. They're a nonprofit founded in 2002, empowers skaters to make a radical impact on their community through big brother relationships, artistic outlets, and giving back. Right now they host Saturday sessions in Midland Park, and they have other ramp jams. If you look on their website, there's lots of activity going on. And their relationship with us can involve hosting skate lessons, skate demos, and also helping us do fundraising. So they would be our little league, to put it in layman's terms. Another thing that we've heard is, won't the skate park be too loud? Well, Portland, Oregon, their Parks and Recs department, they did a study and found that 10,000 square foot skate park had actually less constant noise than light auto traffic. Baseball games and playgrounds were typically louder. Also, Maplewood recently switched from wooden ramps to concrete, and they mentioned concrete as a benefit. They said that the implementation of concrete is particularly satisfying. since we'll make the skate park look more aesthetically pleasing, but also muffling the sound of skateboarding so it doesn't disturb other visitors in that park. So they switched the concrete not only because of its looks, but also because it was quieter. So what about parking? And I want to put a disclaimer with this slide. We haven't decided where the skate park is going yet, so I'm using the spot that was decided upon in 2007 as an example. Obviously, parking needs to be a component of site selection, but since it's a neighborhood park, many youth will skate to it or they'll be dropped off by a driver. We heard last week that a lot of kids, when they were younger, their parents drove them around to skate parks. So just like baseball, soccer, other practices, we drive our son to soccer practice, it would be the same thing here. So as you can see, this is the area right behind Town Hall. The skate area is in yellow. We would have an entrance in green. That would be a walking entrance. We could also make the grassy area in orange a drop-off point if needed. And all of the area in red would be for the first aid squad. There's a lot of cars parked in that striped area right now. There's also some dumpsters. If we move those out, put striping down, that would be a very wide area for the first aid squad. Another question that comes up is what about people coming from outside of the town? But if capacity becomes an issue, you can have solutions such as having a permit on your helmet to skate. But it's not such a negative thing. If we attract non-Pequannock skaters, local business can benefit. Like I said before, restaurants, convenience stores, etc. And right now, Parks and Recs doesn't limit participation in their activities to just town people. They actually let people outside of the town participate. So this would be no different. Why can't skaters just skate in other towns? Well, unless a skater is of driving age, they can't go to other skate parks without being driven there. And it's even less realistic for skaters who want to skate on a daily basis. So then they're back to square one and they just end up skating in the streets again. And the nearest permanent skate parks are in Essex and Bergen counties, so it's not really realistic to be driven to those places on a daily basis if you're one of those core skaters. Another thing we've heard, well, what if the skate park attracts bad kids? Aren't skaters bad? But look around this room tonight and you'll see a lot of skaters, and if skaters were so bad, they wouldn't be here at a town council meeting on a school night. So I think it's great that they're here. And with 13 million skateboarders, the assumption that skateboarders are bad is an assumption that all youth are bad. And obviously location is important. If we have a visible spot with other activities nearby, we're celebrating the skaters. It's a positive experience for them and for the spectators as well. So skaters finally feel like they're important enough to have a visible spot in the town. And I want to go through some local success stories because I think it's important to see what's going on in the rest of New Jersey. As I mentioned, Maplewood just recently replaced their park. This is the before shot, so as you can see, there's some wooden ramps there. And it should be mentioned that wood falls apart really easily in New Jersey winters, and a lot of cities are switching from wooden ramps to concrete. So they're completely renovating, switching to concrete. The designer is Spone Ranch. They've done a lot of stuff in New Jersey. The original park was so popular that they needed to upgrade it, and this one, just like our proposed site, is right behind their town hall. The mayor said that we think it will be a draw. It will add to our recreational activities. And this is the after shot right after they opened, so obviously the tape isn't there, but you can see that this is a nice concrete park now. And these are part of the construction plans, actually in every packet that we placed up on the town council's board before. There's a full construction plan for the park, so if you're interested in seeing how they constructed it, all the details are in there. Livingston is another example. So this is the current park. They were still building it, which is why you see a lot of dirt, but they're already going into a phase 2 expansion because it's so popular. And the co-chair of the town skate park committee said that they were looking for a safe place for the kids to skate. It was all about the kids, getting them out of the parking lots. So same situation that we have here. Long Branch, this is a great skateplex. It's huge, and they're completely replacing all their wooden ramps with concrete. And they're the ones that offer the skate classes through Monmouth Park recreational program, and kids can sign up for skateboarding and inline skating classes. And this is the new park that they're getting. Again, Spone Ranch is the designer, but you can see they have a huge bowl, and it's all concrete. Also, we saw this week in the news, Bayonne is getting a new park. The city council unanimously approved the new skate park to be built in the park right along the river there. Other considerations for planning stage, and I know that we're not planning tonight, but just some things to think about. obviously cost. So some factors in the design are whether or not we go with a street plaza, whether we build bowls in, what materials we use, fencing if we need it, any soil excavation that has to be done. The cost for Maplewood was $134,000. The total project cost in the end was $174,000. But it's sort of apples and oranges with our situation, and I'll explain why on the next slides. So we have some features already, and we spoke to a lot of people about this last week and also at the Hoedown, and this is really exciting, and we have a very unique opportunity here. So in 2013, Nike had a skate barge that was in New York City. One of Steve's friends, who works for the marketing firm that was involved with this, has all of the granite pieces that were on the skate barge sitting in a warehouse, and Nike has agreed to donate it to the town of Pequannock after they heard our story and what we're trying to do here. We estimate that the cost of the granite, if we were to purchase it, would be up to $75,000, and there's more than just the granite. Just a little bit about the skate safari. As background, it was part of Go Skateboarding Day in 2013. They hosted a day of skating around the city, which ended up on the skate barge. The skate barge was designed by legendary architect Tim Payne, and it referenced many skate spots in New York that are no longer skatable, so Brooklyn Banks, or at least the old one, the Pyramid Ledges, and others. And as I said before, the movable features from the event are all in this warehouse in Moonachie. Circled here in yellow, I don't know if everybody can see in the room, but these are the features that are sitting in the warehouse. Both Steve and Jordan from Solid Foundation went there this past weekend to take photos of these. These are the granite features when they're actually used. The pyramid feature that you see on the upper left there, the sort of the stacked granite feature, is really cool because it's hollow in the middle, and in the original pyramid that was actually in the New York City skate park, they have a tree in the middle, so that's something we could do too. Here are some of the cages. There's spectator benches as well, which aren't pictured here. There's 7 of those. They have 20-foot lights, which are working outdoor lights. There's one of the granite features on the left side there, and this is just a small sampling of what they have in the inventory in that spreadsheet. Location considerations, we need to make sure that there's parking, restrooms, garbage cans for trash, but nothing any different than you would have at a softball field or a basketball court in town. As I mentioned before, in 2007, the site right behind Town Hall here, that's right next to the basketball courts, was approved for a skate park, and we could confirm the location in the next stage of the process. So I'd like to introduce Steve to do the 6-minute video, and then we'll open it up for questions and comments.
Okay, I put together a 6-minute video interviewing some key people in town, outside of town, and some skaters. I think Tasha addressed everything that really we're trying to do, but this kind of just gives you a little bit more idea behind what we're thinking passionately. So here we go.
Skateboarding is not a hobby, and it's not a sport. Skateboarding is a way of learning how to redefine the world around you. It's a way of getting out of the house, connecting with other people, and looking at the world through different sets of eyes.
The Pequannock Skate Park Committee started with my son Chris and 2 of his friends, Andy and Jake, who were assigned a middle school project on creating some kind of project that could actually be implemented in the community. And of course, as avid skateboarders from elementary school years, their idea was to come up with a skate park plan for the town of Pequannock. Seeing how realistic it was, the parents of the 3 boys, and then soon the effort grew to multiple children, multiple parents, worked on trying to get a skate park built in Pequannock.
About 7 years ago, the idea of a skate park was brought up, and at that time, I spoke to our PBA representatives who had agreed that if it came to fruition, they would support the construction of the park with a donation. At that time, our feeling was that anything that gives the town's children something to do would be beneficial. It's also a good way for them to exercise and use up some energy. And we thought that it would be good. It would give them something to do and keep them out of trouble, quite frankly.
There is a demographic of kids that just feel like people don't care about them, and I think that a lot of those are skater kids. Most towns just don't think, oh, we need to provide for these kids, and they kind of sense it doesn't matter. What we do doesn't matter, and I think that by putting in a skate park, you can really show the kids in the community, we're here for everybody. We're here to give the community whatever they need, and if it's skaters, yeah, we've got that covered.
Yeah, so it's kind of there's always been there's been different facilities for people who are interested in tennis or football or soccer. We have how many baseball fields in town? I don't even know, but there's never been a different area that's been designated for people who want to do something different.
A skate park in Pequannock could really help the youth in the area by giving kids a place to express themselves. A lot of kids, like myself growing up, weren't very involved in team activities. My parents always wanted me to do baseball or soccer, and I didn't like the whole team aspect and having to help kids to achieve a goal and have a coach. Whereas skateboarding, just you have a piece of wood with some wheels on it and you just go. There's no rules. So in order to have a skate park in town for kids that can associate themselves with not being a part of a team or an organization, to have a skate park for them to express themselves would be amazing.
We, as a police department, keep a very good dialogue with our town's children. Having a skateboard park in close proximity to our building, our headquarters here, would only enhance that. It would allow for some interaction with the children. Again, we keep a very close relationship with our kids through our schools, and I think this would even help that, and that would probably help this also.
The shame of it is that we take, we sort of criminalize kids for doing something that they love, and they deserve a safe and legal place to do, to practice their athletic trait and to be creative and do the things that they love to do. And, I'm a big believer as mayor that we have an obligation to provide recreational opportunities for our youth in our community. I was a big beneficiary of that growing up as a kid. I didn't skate. I played baseball, I wrestled, I played football, and I did the more conventional sports. But I think we all recognize now that, skating, BMXing, it's not a trend, it's not a fad, it is a legitimate sport, and it's growing every year. And so in the same way that we are obligated to provide baseball fields and other recreational opportunities for kids, we should provide that same opportunity for skating.
I feel like because of skateboarding and the creative outlet that we have here at the skate park, it's it helps people just become more of who they are.
Well, I see, there's kids that are skating and they're going for it and they call themselves skaters, but there's also a girl over there who's just against the wall and she's not really doing anything. Right. But she's here. She feels like she's a part of something. Mm-hmm. She doesn't have to achieve anything other than the door is open and she's welcome to come in and be a part of it. Right. That doesn't happen in traditional sports.
As someone who's totally new to the sport and new to, I guess, the observation of it, it's mind-blowing because you just don't see that camaraderie.
That's the video.
Okay, I think this is the way we'll take this, is council members, do you have any questions of Steve or Tasha?
I do.
And then we will open it up to the community for their comments, but I'd like council to go first.
Okay. Do you mind if I go first there, Mayor?
No problem.
Okay, Stephen and Tasha, first off, it's a great presentation. You guys did a really good
Thank you.
job. I have not seen such a good presentation here in quite some time, so you should be commended. I have a very close friend whose son is a skateboarder, and that close friend dragged me around to look at skate parks a couple of years ago, and I was kind of impressed with the whole thing. So I have a very open mind to this. With that said, we as a council are very supportive of our emergency services, which includes the first aid squad, the fire company, and the police department. We're very supportive of them. So when one of our organizations says, we do not want it in our backyard, I would be very, very surprised if we, this council, would say, let's put a skate park by the people we support so much. So that's number one. So you know, in my opinion, you have to look for a different spot to put this. Because I really don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but this council supports that first aid squad, and I would find it hard to believe that they would say, oh yeah, sure, put it over there, no big deal. That's number one. So I have a couple of questions. How much would it cost to build this skate park?
Well, we haven't really.
How much do you want us to spend?
We haven't. It all depends on design, and we already have a donation of which could really be all the street obstacles of the park. So our design from there, based on space, would be the flat ground and some transition.
Are they permanent?
There's no number that we can really put to it.
Are those things
It would have to be looked into.
Are they permanent?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess the question is, how would you propose for us to fund this skate park?
Well, I would propose that we would have to, look further into it together, and to fund it. I don't have an answer to that. We're just here telling you that, this is what we want. Everyone here behind us, this is what they want. Just like, excuse me, we have all the soccer fields and baseball fields in town.
We support our youth.
No, I understand that.
No. Again, it comes
I'm
down to
not.
a funding
We're
issue.
we're not arguing that you don't, but I think if you look at it from our side, it's basically that we're very underserved, and to see other activities being served, that's why we're here. So
Right.
we could kind of look at that together. I can't really tell you, yeah, maybe it's town taxes. I don't know, but that's something that we need to look into.
Right. The presentation was good. I think that to take it to the next step, you really start to need to look at what the actual cost of this is going to be.
Yes.
Who's going to maintain it?
Yep.
I mean, there's a couple of things that are behind this. We as a council, yeah, we would be happy to do something like this, except A, first aid squad, can't put it over there, right? And B, where are we going to get the funding? Because we have other things that we're funding also. We're going into the budget season very shortly, and money will be allocated to certain things. I know that we underfunded the digital radios last year because we didn't have enough money. We still need to finish funding the digital radios. I see that as taking a priority over certain other things. But maybe we want to start thinking long-term and saying, okay, we could put some money aside this year, next year, following year, so forth. But there's got to be some kind of plan given to us so that we can make an educated whatever on this. You're hearing support, but I'll reiterate about the first aid squad. Okay? Not gonna happen.
Well, that was a starter.
Okay,
This
so
is,
let's take
yeah.
that starter off the board right off the bat.
Okay.
Let's all agree to that, and we can move forward.
We based our presentation on what was already agreed back in 2007, so
But
we
between-
can just restart it.
Between us, let's agree that it can't go by the first aid squad, and then maybe we can move a little bit further.
I don't think Steve and I can just solely agree to that, though, because I think it's not fair to everybody who would be part of a committee or would be able to be heard at a hearing.
The problem is that I'll reiterate, this council supports our emergency services 100%. So when a skateboard committee comes in front of us and says, we want to put it at the first aid squad, you're going to get so much resistance that it's not going to be worth your time. So I would, personal opinion, I can't speak for everybody, I would take that off the table right off the bat and say, let's look for another spot. Okay?
Well,
And that would be great.
Other towns that we've been following, what they typically do at this point, they have a committee and then those discussions are had. So we had a disclaimer before that we haven't decided on a spot, we haven't decided on a design. That all drives the cost. So that would be a great next step is we start to get designers in. There's 2 that we've been in touch with who are very happy to help out. One of whom was from New Jersey originally, is doing skate parks all over New Jersey, now lives in California. Another one who's doing some skate spots in New York. And they would be happy to come in and talk about what the typical cost would be, what the process would be, and then we can start deciding on those things.
Right, I think we have to take it a little bit further and start looking at the cost on this. Because ultimately, we're responsible for the taxpayers' money. We want to do what's best for our youth, obviously. We also, as I keep reiterating, First Aid Squad does not like this idea by them. Okay, it's got to be a large roadblock, big roadblock. So, with that said, if we can come up with what is it going to cost us, where are we going to put it other than by the First Aid Squad, I think that you can make some progress here. I really do.
And knowing what land inventory we have at our disposal would be great too, because a designer's going to come in and the one that we spoke to, that was his first question, was what does the ground look like? Are there roots there? Are there trees there? Are there things that they need to dig up? So that all factors into cost. So if we know what spots are available to us, that really helps in the planning process too.
There could be, I don't know, as a suggestion, Washington Park, as a suggestion. Okay? So, like I said, if you guys could come a little bit further, you gave a great presentation. We see everybody that's in here. We understand what you're looking for. We need to know funding because we're responsible for the taxpayers' money, obviously. We need to know how it's going to be maintained because it could create a problem somewhere along the line. I do have articles from towns who've shut down skate parks, but I believe that we won't have that problem in this town. I believe that we run a great town and we have great youth and great citizens in this town, so we would not face that problem. The only problem we see is funding, where we're going to go with this, so forth, et cetera. So that's kind of my piece. If anybody else would like to say anything?
Jay, do you have anything?
Oh, my God, last time was great.
Right, your mic.
Full support, the idea, and maybe some bad economic times. Location, visibility is a good thing. That's where it ended up last time was visibility. Different group of people this time, so it may be an issue. We've already heard that is an issue, so. And funding, you gotta start moving and get ideas on cost and size and get that into the presentation. But you did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
Well, I'm the liaison for Parks and Rec, so I sat through the presentation for Parks and Rec last Monday. Sunday, Jordan and I spent 2.5–3 hours. He took me around. We went to Chatham. I saw what the skateboard park looks like with the mobile, the wooden ones. Then we went to Livingston. I saw what the skateboard park looks like, made out of cement. If we're going to do one, I think we should do one out of cement. There was quite a bit of maintenance on the ramps and jumps that were made out of wood and some sort of special material for skateboard parks. I also agree, I don't think it's a great idea that we put it in the back here. We did have a full-size baseball field that was slated to go at Washington Park, but there was a small piece of wetlands that stopped it, so I don't know if it can fit there. As a possibility, maybe it can go there, but I'm also concerned about funding, how we're going to fund it. I think it's a great idea. I think you did a great job presentation. Jordan did a great job explaining a lot of things to me on Sunday. My biggest concern is funding and where we go. I think Washington Park would be a better spot if it could fit there. And I also, the one in Chatham was fenced in. I really wasn't a fan of that. The one in Livingston was more open and it looked more inviting and I mean, you could walk by and really not even know that it was a skateboard park.
Mhm.
In Livingston, so it was nice.
Melissa?
Again, I want to commend you guys for the presentation. You did a really good job. As far as location, I do feel that that might not be the best place to put it behind Town Hall. So let's look at some alternative places. I do like the idea, though. Maybe what you should start with is get a committee together. I mean, maybe there should be discussions. Sit down with the first aid squad, find out, is it off the table? If it's off the table, we need to find, new locations. There's been a lot of discussion about Washington Park. Are there other areas around town? That's what we need to do, is find out other locations. And of course, everyone, I'll echo everyone else that funding is a big thing. I realize not everyone can, plays baseball or football, but we do want to support the youth and have things for them to do. So if we can find any way to do this, it is something that it's probably going to take quite a while. Rich had mentioned before about funding it over time. It's going to take a while to do this, but I think we're all open to it.
I think you have a good dream, and I think the dream will come to fruition someday in the future, not today, but maybe next year or the following year or whatever. It's you start with something and you start moving forward with it. But I got to reiterate, the first six one doesn't want to have a discussion about possibly putting it by that period.
Well, I think this is where we need a town planner possibly on that
Right.
committee to help us figure out those spots and what the options are so we can have those discussions.
It would be something between the town and us.
Mhm.
I think also we're not banging our hand on the on the table saying that we want it back, by the first aid squad. It's just that was already addressed and agreed upon in the past. If things have changed, that's fine. I mean, skaters just want to skate, so if it's a location, then that's not an issue.
Okay, so how can we get a
Well, it's
committee
it's my turn to speak.
Go ahead and speak.
It's my turn. I lived with a skater for many years. For reasons of injuries, he can't skate anymore, so I think I know the head of a skater. I've been to most skate parks around in the United States and outside of the United States. I know a lot about skating. I know that we need to support our youth desperately, all of our youth. And I don't like that they're underground right now and behind unloading docks. They're going to get hurt. Something's going to happen. So I'm glad to see that council fully supports this, and I think you did a bang-up job on your presentation. You did a whole lot better than the prior skateboard group. We did a lot of research back on that skateboard group, and I have to say I agree with Chief Spring that if you put this park somewhere remote, things will happen, and you'll close the park. And you'll say it wasn't a success because you didn't put it in a proper location. Other parks that closed weren't built right. They turned into rocks. They turned into disrepair. They closed. They didn't close because of the skaters wouldn't skate. Well, they didn't skate anymore because they went in disrepair, or they were falling apart, or they were dangerous, or they were made out of wood and they became infested with bees, and all kinds of things happened to these parks. So I think that we need to remain open. I think we have some issues that were brought up about the first aid. Before we even talk about a skate park, I think there's issues with the traffic here. I think maybe we need to clean up some of the dumpsters and some of the cars in disrepair. I think maybe, and this is my total opinion, personal opinion, that maybe there shouldn't be any driving back here except maybe police and first aid vehicles. But I'm just one person with one opinion. I think moving forward, if I could make a suggestion, is that we do form a special committee with people from the township. David is a very big key to that. He runs the town. He knows everything about insurance. He knows about, do you need a fence, don't you need a fence? He knows all the details and all the specifics and all the legal things around it, and our attorney will help us also. But we need skaters to design it, because if Parks and Rec designs it, there's not one skater on Parks and Rec, right? If we design it, we don't know anything. We just approve budgets. And personally, too, I don't think that this could have to take years. I think you have a huge donation. I think the only thing you need is a design and some concrete and some trash cans, and you're done. really, I don't think it's a long endeavor. And I have to say that to my fellow council members. I don't think this is a long process. But the only way to prove that is for a special committee to be formed of people from the township and from the skaters and from Parks and Rec, so that we can do this in an appropriate manner. I don't think anybody tonight can say the way it should go. You've made some suggestions. We have some preconceived notions of how it should be. The first aiders think of how it should be. But I think when you bring this all down a level and everybody starts to talk as adults and put everything on the table. You just take a whiteboard and you put everything on the table and you talk about the pluses and minuses. And if we have an issue back here, we should address that issue. Skate park or no skate park. If you guys back there have a problem and you think you may be running over a basketball player or somebody crossing here, please bring that issue up to us now. Let's don't just commingle this issue with the skate park. Let's fix it. And we can talk about the skate park, and I know that the majority is not with me. But that's fine. I'm at least willing to talk about all of it, the pluses and the minuses. So that's my say. I think we need to form a special committee. I don't know if we can do that here tonight or how we go about doing something like that. I know we've done it in the past with, trash companies, with long-term planning. I don't know how we go about doing that. But I would like to hear from some people from the general public, because you've heard both sides, and I'd just like to hear what you have to say. If you guys have anything more to close with before they begin.
Just one thing is that the materials donated by Nike need to be removed from the warehouse by end of the year. And going back to what you said about adding to that, really, it's true. All we really need, even if it's just a phase one, is some concrete around that, supporting those structures, and some transitions, which is just basically bending the concrete. So there's really not a whole lot that needs to be done besides that foundation, because besides those donations, we also have the lights, some fencing, and also some spectator benches. So.
Steve, could you let me know how much space that takes up, the stuff at Nike?
Sure. That would have to, that also comes in design, so it's...
Well, you need...
as far as picking that up, sure.
Maybe I can store it at my company for a while. It depends on how much square footage you're talking about here.
Sure. Okay.
That's my help for you guys.
Okay? Thank you.
I have a quick question. Besides the materials that you have stored in this warehouse, were there donations, did you say also, monetary, or was that handed over?
No, but there are. Several people since Parks and Rec gave their presentation. There have been a few organizations that have approached me, but I really can't say anything about them right now because they're not firm commitments. But there are people who are willing to donate.
Just thank you again for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thanks again.
You're welcome. Now, we normally... Normally, we have reports from volunteers. We go into comments, but it's like we have a lot of business to conduct, so I'll open it up for like 15 minutes to this topic only. All right, Tom? And state your name and address for the record.
I'll be very brief. Tom Andreas, 6 Elm Road, Thompson Plains, Chair of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Tasha and Stephen came before us last Monday to give this presentation, and after the presentation, we took a vote, and it was unanimous. We liked the concept of a skateboard park in town, and we felt the council should pursue it further. By no means do we guarantee a skateboard park, but we should look into it further. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Rob Casco, 9 4th Street. I was at the Parks and Rec presentation. I was the only one there that spoke against the skate park. I don't know if I'm the only one here tonight that will do so as well, but we'll see. I just had a few questions, and I just jotted down some things in response to the presentation that Tasha and Steve made. I think Livingston was one of the parks that you cited, correct? Dave, you said on Sunday you went to Chatham and Livingston, correct?
I did.
How many skaters were at these parks when you went?
I think at Chatham there was a couple young kids. We got there, I guess, around 10:30, 20 to 11. I guess there was two young kids leaving when we got there, and then we stayed for around 20 minutes. Then we went to Livingston. I guess we got to Livingston maybe 11, 15, and there was 3 kids.
Okay. And that kind of, I'm sorry?
I think they were at church.
I doubt they were at church. And that kind of, when I was at the, before I came to the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee meeting last week, I went online, I did some research myself. The Township of Woodbridge has, one list, and I don't know how accurate it is, rated as one of the #1 skate parks in the state. They also have a webcam on the skate park, so at 6 o'clock last week in the evening when it was beautiful out, I took a look and there were 4 kids skating at the skate park. So I don't know, I think, 1 in 7 may be correct in California. I don't think 1 in 7, we don't have 1 in 7 skateboarders in town. I think 130 core skaters in Pequannock is inflated. That's just my opinion. I don't see it. I don't see it 130 kids. I don't see them at CVS. I don't see them wrecking the wall at the first aid squad or on the loading docks at the post office. I don't see 130 skaters.
Police are doing a good job.
No, not really, if you look at the damage that was in the pictures. So, who makes damage? Well, you said
no cross-talking.
That's
No
what you said.
cross-talking, okay.
I've seen them at the first aid squad.
Give Rob his due.
We had a skateboard shop in town, closed down, Specialty Sports. They catered to them. They had an indoor ramp, I think, at one point. It is the town's responsibility to provide some recreation, but I think you have to look at how many people are going to benefit from the amount of money that you're spending. This is the first year that this council is increasing the budget from a 0% raise. Now we're having our taxes increased. Like Councilman Phelan said, we still have a radio system that hasn't been funded. This council has supported its emergency workers, but we still have a radio system that is not completely functional. So we have a lot of things to do before we just pour some concrete. There are a lot of other things that need attention. The mayor that was in the video said that there's an assumption that kids are bad. I don't believe that applies to every skateboarder. But Mayor, you said it yourself, it should be in the back of town hall so that it can be supervised.
No, not supervised, just so there's police presence.
If there's not going to be damage and if skateboarders are good people, why can't it be remote? Why can't it be at Washington Park? Why can't it be like the tennis courts at Greenview Park that are remote? We don't need police presence. And if you think we do, then that goes against the argument that nothing's going to happen. There's a gentleman here, I forget his name, from last week, and the mayor said it on the video, BMXing and skateboarding is not a fad. Well, we had a BMX track in town, and I think the gentleman corrected me last week. Some parents put it in when their kids were into BMXing, and then those kids grew up, and the BMX track came to not be used. And I think we saw the same thing in 2007. There was a group that wanted a skateboard park. Those kids aged out, so it fell by the wayside. And now we have another group, and it's cyclical. There was an article about the Woodbridge Park a week after that park opened. The nearby church made so many complaints about foul language, trash, that the town, in response to it, spent another $50,000 on a security system. I hope that doesn't happen here. But I don't think we have the amount of people necessary to support such a large financial and permanent obligation if you're going to make it out of concrete. We have a lot of people in town that are avid marksmen. We have a gun range that's not open to the public. We have archers in town. We don't have an archery range. We have ultimate frisbee players. We don't have that. We can't cater to every single interest that our population has. We have a limited, finite number of dollars to spend, and I ask you to look at it and spend it wisely. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
I will just give a little footnote, I guess, to my number of kids. We did talk to the kids, and I said to him, how many kids usually come here? He said, it was usually maybe 20. So, they weren't there that day, but, that's what he said. 20 kids.
Go ahead, Tom.
Just for the benefit of everybody who's here tonight that wasn't here last week, we spoke about the Woodbridge Park last week, and I believe some skaters stood up and said that it was a poorly designed park, and that's why they don't go there. The Livingston Park, it should be mentioned, they require a permit on your helmet. You have to be a Livingston resident. So the fact that 20 kids go there out of the town is great, because if they didn't have that requirement, more kids would actually be skating there. And just to say that there were only 3 at that time, no, we live right by Greenview Park, and we often see empty baseball fields and empty tennis courts. And, I wouldn't suggest that we take out the tennis courts and take out the baseball fields. I know that people use those. So to say that there were only 3 skaters there, that's actually more than what I've seen at the tennis courts most days. So I just want to make that point.
Thank you. In the back?
Good evening.
Name and address for the record?
Sure. I'm Steve Nindo. I'm Vice President representing the First Aid Squad. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to the Township Council for the constant support that they give us in everything that we do. Second of all, I'd just like to preface what I'm about to say with the fact that the First Aid Squad is in no way opposed to the idea of a skate park. But as Councilman Phelan mentioned, we are opposed to putting it in front of the First Aid Squad. And I'd just like to take the chance to elaborate on that, since it's been kind of discussed already several times. And really our issue being in the business that we're in, obviously, is safety. We're concerned that obviously the parking lot here, especially behind the town hall, is used by this First Aid Squad to not only respond to the building from their homes when there's a call, but obviously for the ambulance to respond to the location of the call from our headquarters. Basically what the problem is there is already a lot of congestion back here. Obviously we have the baseball field, we have the basketball courts, and our headquarters. Furthermore, there's a lot of people that use the parking lot here. I don't know if anybody else ever noticed. A lot of people that walk their dogs, ride their bikes, that live in the village or going to the village, to PV Park, use the pathway in the back of the field here that cuts down to the to Village Road there. And a lot of people come down the driveway here and through the First Aid Squad parking lot. So our concern is that by adding more individuals to the mix here, it's going to create a big safety issue when the squad is trying to respond to emergencies. There is a lot of pedestrian traffic already, like I said, from the basketball players, from the baseball players. We also have issues where as they mentioned, parking is limited, and we do have reserved spots for the First Aid Squad. We still have issues with people with not having enough parking for the events that already go on here. A lot of the times we have people parking behind our building, next to our building.
Do you think we should do something?
It would be great, and I'm not just like I said, it's a lot of different people that go back there. It's not just going to be the skateboarders that are going to be an issue. We have in the past. I mean, I've been on the squad 10 years, and when the weather's nice, obviously, if we're there at the building, we like to spend time outside, and we even have issues where people will park on our apron, which is the area in front of our bays, to watch the baseball game, to watch a basketball game. For whatever reason, they don't want to get out of their car, so they just park their car there to watch the game. It's a big issue.
To me, it sounds like it is an issue. It sounds like something we should address separately, and I think this is something maybe we can look into.
Side issues. I've been seeing that for a long time.
Well, I think it's finally come to a head. Yeah.
Right, and obviously it's been a problem in the past. We have the town has been kind enough to make parking spots with reserved signs just for the squad. The police have come through and patrolled and remove people that have been an issue. I just don't think that adding more people to the mix will make things any better. The design called for a drop-off area right here, which is probably the worst part. Obviously, you have the cars, the town vehicles parked on the side over there, and really, there's enough room for the ambulance to get in and out. But if there's another vehicle that wants to get back here, there's just not enough room. And I don't think adding more people to the mix is really going to help anything.
It sounds like we got to get people out of the mix right now even. It sounds like there's some kind of issue going on that is an accident waiting to happen, is what I'm hearing.
Right. Certainly that's something that can be addressed, with the existing amount of people that are already back here.
Yeah.
The second issue we kind of want to touch on, we took the liberty of measuring the area here between the basketball court and our headquarters. And from the edge of the basketball court pavement to our front walkway, to our front door, is approximately 100 feet. So assuming you need somewhat of a 10 to 20 foot buffer between the basketball court and anything else you're going to build there, that leaves very little room between our building and whatever you would be constructing. And that section of our building that borders that grassy area is our meeting room and classroom. So that's where we have our monthly business meetings, any fundraisers, any classes that we need to take to continue our certifications, CPR classes, and so on and so forth. I understand that in the presentation the issue of noise was addressed. It says it's quieter than traffic. I understand, if it was in a park, maybe somebody's watching a baseball game, they're not going to notice the background noise. But when you have a skate park 10 feet from our building and we're trying to have a class or take a test that we need to do to continue serving the town as EMTs and CPR certifications, you're going to want to concentrate on that test, on that presentation, on that class that you're trying to learn. And I think that having not only in front of the building but along the side, I think that would be an issue for us.
Are the basketball courts heavily used, and do you know by who?
When the weather's nice, we see them out there all the time. And to be honest with you, I know they turn the lights off at a certain time. There's still people that stay there. They pull their cars right up to the basketball court and shine the headlights on because they want to still keep playing. So I'd say there is a good use out of the basketball courts, absolutely.
Do you know if they're Pequannock residents or not, or you don't know who they are?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. We never, other than treating the occasional injury, we never really interact with them.
Okay.
Per se.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
The guy in red, little guy back here in red. You had your arm up the whole time. You have to give your name and address just for the record.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Mayer. I live on 27 Sherman Ave, and I am obviously for the skate park in the town. I think that having it behind the town hall, we already have a basketball court back there, which, like was mentioned, is heavily used. So I think that, it would be the same. It wouldn't, a skate park wouldn't make it any worse because you already have the sound of basketball. And also, I think that a skate park would so it was brought here from the barge on Go Skate Day in 2013, and a lot of people went to that day. They came from Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and that was a very famous day. And I think that when people hear that, the obstacles like the ledges and ramps and rails from that day that everybody had a good time on are in Pequannock, that's going to just draw more people to come here. And there might be a kid in Wayne that's been skateboarding his whole life and he's really, really good, and he might go somewhere in skateboarding and he decides to skate at this park because it's the best one closest to him. And let's say he goes really far in skateboarding, he's a professional skateboarder, he's going to tell everybody that, he went to the skate park in Pequannock, which is just going to lead more people to want to come here. And then, after skating, go over to Quick Check or King's Kid and get a bottle of soda and a sandwich or something. So that's my case. Thank you.
And just give your name, skip your address.
Hi, I'm Cal. I live on 8
No. Just your name. The attorney told me don't give me your name. Your address.
Okay.
You're underage. We don't want anybody.
All right. My name is Cal. I've been a lifelong resident of Pequannock Township, and I just have a few things to say considering the possible skate park in our town. So earlier this year, I just started skating, and I immediately fell in love with it. There was no pressure to do it, and it is something that I do basically every day now. Just something I love to do. And after skating for a few months now, I've come to learn that when we skate different spots, we get kicked out a lot. So I believe a skate park in our town would not only inspire young kids to skate, but also keep them out of trouble. As mentioned, there are no skate parks in the town, but there are various fields and courts for other sports. We're not looking for the best skate park in New Jersey. We would just like a good, well-built skate park in which people can learn, progress in. coming from the bottom of my heart, a skate park would not just make me happy, but friends, family, other skateboarders, parents, and even generations going into the future happy. So, my cousin's here, John Linsky. He recently just renovated Sayreville Skate Park in order to like keep them going and everything. And I think he knows like the basic guidelines of how to like get a skate park renovated and everything. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cara Gilliam, and I am sister of this fabulous person. I myself don't actually skate. I want to. And hearing that there might be like people to help there, I might want to go there and say like, hey, let's go out and try and skate. And I remember last winter, my brother's friend Aaron introduced him to the skateboarding. Like, he's like, dude, you gotta learn how to skate. Like, yeah. But he said, you know, you gotta learn skating. It's fun. Like, it's a good thing to do. And so we used our garage, and like, he got pretty good, and they're skating around town, and when he comes home, I hear all these stories about like how they're getting kicked out, or how like some people at the post office might call the cops because they have no other place to go. That's their only place to go to. And I feel that building a skate park will not only help the skaters, but help people who are non-skaters try to skate and use it. And I was actually in one of the pictures for Please Build a Skate Park. My two friends over there, Rachel and Melissa, were in it with me. And I feel that not just speaking against having people like growing up and like, saying like, oh, this person, like they want a skate park, they grew up and they shut it down because they grew up and no one wanted it anymore. But what we got to do is we got to encourage younger generations to use this skate park and to keep it alive, because that's the whole reason why we want this skate park. To skate, to have fun, and have a nice, safe environment to hang out in. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, thank you for hearing me. My name is Peggy Keaveney. I live next door at 520 North Compton Turnpike, and I'm representing Crestwood Park. We have lived in the town, my husband and I, for 52 years. We've raised 5 children. We have 3 of our children and their families still in the town. We have 14 grandchildren, and as I say, there's 9 of them here. They have all had skateboards. They love skateboarding at one time or another. Some of them still do. What we are here about, or I am, is about it being here behind the municipal building. We have the basketball courts. We knew they were there. We're here 16 years. So we hear them all. Yes, they're used. Believe me, they're used, and that's a blessing. We have the nice baseball field. That's fine. We have the wonderful first aid squad. We have a lot of traffic going through. Our windows face our bedroom window and our living room window. So we hear all the noise. When the skateboarders were here, when they had the last session they wanted, everybody saying it wasn't noisy. It was noisy. It was noisy. And we had the youngsters, some of them, now these are very respectful young children. The presentation was wonderful. I think we do need a skateboard in town, but not here, not behind the municipal building. We have 76 units next door. We have residents from a baby that's a year old to a woman that's 99. We have married, we have working, we have single, we have all kinds of people there. Some people are ill. We have the couple mentally disabled units and a blind couple. So we cater to everything, and we are very happy there. But to open up another avenue of noise, I think, is going a little too far. To be respectful of your neighbor. We are neighbors. I didn't hear anyone say this is a residential area. There's 76 units. There's a lot of people here. So I don't want to keep on either. But it was noisy. That really was. And I just ask you to be respectful of your neighbors. And good luck finding a spot. I think it is something we could use in this town, having had the children and grandchildren here.
But as I say, I don't think the Sisters Blackfoot. We see that first aid all the time, the lights. I mean, they're wonderful. We all use them. We're thankful to God to have them. So, good luck with your decision.
Thank you for your input. Ron?
Hi, my name is Ron Shiano, 2 Winfield, Pompton Plains, 2 Winfield Avenue. I've lived here since 1972. I wanted to talk about the gentleman who was opposed to the skate park. I think what he said was very misleading. First of all, he said that he was looking at the park via their webcam around 6 p.m. Well, that happens to be the time that most people are eating dinner. You can't judge the use of a park by a little slice of time. The councilman visited other parks and said he only saw 3 or 4 in one and several in the other. But again, that's just a slice of time, and you really need to average it out to see how much these parks are used. The gentleman who was opposed to the park also mentioned the BMX track. I was involved in that. My son was a participant in that. We didn't receive a dime from the town. This was done for and created by the parents. That's one of the reasons why it fell apart, because there was no support by the town. So that's very misleading. He also says that he doesn't see many skateboarders in town, that he's driven a few places to look. Well, they're all over the place, but they're driven underground because they have no place to go. They're behind their homes, they're behind many buildings where they shouldn't be because they're going to get hurt. I used to drive my son down to Willowbrook to other spots. So all this is kind of misleading as far as trying to establish that the park is really not going to be used that much. As far as maintenance, this is going to be made out of concrete and granite. It should be basically maintenance free, pretty much. And we're really driving these skateboards underground because they have no facility to go to, and this is bad for many reasons. One, of course, is accidents, both for the skateboarders and cars, and damage to commercial buildings, but they have no place to go. I had the same situation with my son 20 years ago. Constantly the police were chasing them away, but it's frustrating because there is no place to go. And the thing is, the park is really positive because without a park, these kids go underground. They might meet less than positive friends, and there's more likely to be use of drugs. Whereas with a skate park facility, this would really lessen drug use and temptation. So basically, it's a positive thing in my viewpoint. And by denying this, the town is effectively saying, we really don't care about you as skateboarders. I mean, there's a lot of kids that are individualists, like my son were. He was a BMX racer, a snowboarder, a skateboarder. They're not in the team sports. And we need to provide a facility for these kind of children. A lot of them turn out to be leaders and individualists. I mean, like for instance, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. There's a mindset where people are just not team orientated. They're individualists, and we should give them an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Galliano. I am 21 years old, and I have been skateboarding for 16 years. One point that Steve and Tasha mentioned on their PowerPoint was partnering with a nonprofit organization. The nonprofit organization that they mentioned was South Foundation of New Jersey. I have been a part of South Foundation since 2004. Basically, that's when I started going there, and I am currently employed there because we are vastly growing, and we are trying to get our own facility, but besides the point. What Solid Foundation does, it allows kids in their community to come together, make an impact in their community, and allow kids to come together and have a facility where they can skateboard. Currently, we only set up the park once every Saturday throughout the year. But another thing that Solid Foundation does, it's almost like a Big Brother program where it allows younger kids, anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15, to come and hang out with older kids like myself, from 21, 25, 30, 35, whatever. And it really brings kids together and shows them a sense of leadership, a sense of community, and a way to keep them off the streets and to keep them together and to form their own friendships through this piece of wood that they scoot around town in. Another thing that Solid Foundation is willing to do with the town, if the skate park is built, we would come and teach skateboard lessons for kids that would like to learn how to skateboard. We have skateboards at our facility that we can use to give to kids that would like to skateboard or are not able to purchase skateboards, and they can learn at the skate park and progress and get better through their daily lives when they skate. Another thing with the issue with park saying, phasing out. Back in 2007, there was an issue, of course, with the economy, and that just went by the wayside. So you can't say, and what Mr. What Ron, sorry, what Ron said was with the bike track, you can't say that it just phases out because there's other issues at hand, whereas the parents weren't involved because town didn't get enough support, or back in 2007 when the skate park was first brought to attention that when the economy hit, things had to take a turn for the worse and other priorities had to be met. So I'm just coming here today to say that the skate park would be very beneficial for everyone in the community, and also with businesses, because kids would come to the skate park, go to Quick Check or CVS or businesses like that to help stimulate the economy and drive local business up instead of keeping these kids underground where you wouldn't have that happen. So that is all I'd like to say. Thank you very much.
We'll take 1 or 2 more comments, and then we need to go on to our business. Dave, he had his hand up right before you, Joe. Maybe we'll do 3, if you're quick.
Try to make this brief. Hi there, is this thing on? Dave Sweezy, 11 Whipple Road in Pompton Plains. I was on the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee back in 2007 when we first looked at this, and actually have a lot of really good information left from that. But there's we have our Parks and Rec master plan. We kind of know every plot of land, every inch of space. We have that information readily available. So I think when it comes to figuring out a space, it's there, right? So we need to figure out where we want to put it and make a choice, right? So the good news is there's not a whole lot of mystery about where the land is, right? From a funding perspective, I remember trying to donate money to the town to fix a field and how hard that was, like to give something for free, to say, here's money, we're going to do this, can we just do the work, and how complicated that was. And so this is different where we're asking for money. So I think that's really important that the next step here is got to have some kind of a plan, right? Some kind of investment on a level of investment that I think the town would need to consider to invest in, right? So what's really exciting is the council's kind of said, sure, we want to support these. We want to support this. So I'm not hearing a no on the council at all. But it's easy when money gets in the way and land gets in the way. But it sounds like we have a way to get at the land, and money is always an interesting thing. But it sounds like you get a lot of donations. At least the granted assets are a big plus. But I just wanted to kind of mention from a point of view of a longtime skater. So I've been a skater my entire life. I have 3 kids in town, and 2 of them were athletes, big time team athletes, and they played pretty much every sport there was. And I had one that was not, and we skated. And to this day, we actually build longboards together. So skating has been a father-son activity for a long, long time. And I think it's a big part of the community. I hear a lot about skaters. So I was a skater, and I was a straight edge skater. And straight edge was hardcore skating. There was no drugs. There was no alcohol. There was a tremendous amount of respect. And you hear a lot about, the police need to be involved. you hear a lot of negative terms around skating, and I think it's really frustrating, right? People hear a lot of negative terminology about skaters because they're getting chased away from people and they need to be observed. But a lot of that has to do with, skaters are a community of one. And I can tell you, there's a lot of folks that I've talked to don't understand the anti-team thing. It's not that at all. They are a community of individuals who love to participate with each other. And I think making sure that we have a way to support children that have that as their modus operandi for how they engage in society is really, really important. So I'm hoping we can, and I'm happy to be involved in a committee. Sounds like you got a great Parks and Rec advisory committee, so you don't need any more help, more than likely. But happy to help out in any way I can to help facilitate making a good decision that everybody can understand, whether it's a yes or a no. But it does sound like we have to investigate the traffic issues for the first aid squad. It sounds like you got to.
Sounds like a separate issue. Yeah.
Separate issue entirely. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. We'll take one more. We're going to go. You have to keep it short. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I want to say my name is Joe Wells. I'm at 5 Washington Street in town. I want to thank you for not calling me right after the 3 kids, because that was a tough act to follow. The thing that I have is a question, not a comment. Would be a large investment for a group of people that we haven't figured out the number. And my question to the presenters, probably, you may not be able to answer this, would this park be open to inline skaters and bicycle, BMX bike people, where there's plenty of those in town also?
I see them shaking their head yes.
Okay.
Okay. That's what I'm seeing.
Is that short enough?
Yes, thank you. Frank, do you have something? After Frank, I'm going to take one more, and then we're going to go on to regular business. This has been a great meeting.
This is deja vu, you know? We've been here before. Anyway, a couple of things. First off, the first group that was here a couple of years ago, the township did put some seed money away, and they were supposed to come up with the rest of the money to actually build a skate park, which never transpired. As far as the location in the back here, as you know, we did the Rossi, and for those that out there that don't know what it is, it's the Recreational Open Space Inventory, which the Open Space Committee is in charge of keeping track of all the open space in town. That piece of property is not open space. And the reason we did that was, and this was a long discussion between me and Dave and the committee, was if the first aid squad decided that they wanted to enlarge their building, they would have to go to New Jersey DEP to get permits to even use that piece of property. So we decided that we would take it off of the Rossi, the same as we did with the library, because the library was bought with township money, not Green Acres or other funding. And so was this building. Even the senior house was in open space, which is ludicrous. But anyway, that's why we changed that. So from the curb, from the front of this building, the building you're standing in right now, the senior house, the first aid squad, and that piece of property from the the basketball field all the way to the first aid squad is not open space. So it's not really available unless the township decides that you want to put it there, which myself personally, I would be against, because if we want to extend this building or the first aid squad, that's going to be a parking area. Now you're going to have to move the skate park to another area, so that's going to cost you more money. So you have to decide that you want to put it, if you're going to do that, somewhere else other than that piece of property. As you know, I've been involved with many projects involving money with the town, as far as buying houses, you name it. And you guys always, even with the easements that we're trying to get through from the commercial properties, your first question to me is how much is it gonna cost? Well, I think these people have to do that. They have to do their homework and come up with how much is the township gonna put into this and how much are they gonna put into it?
I think it has to be a committee of people from both sides.
Well, I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
not just
emphasize
one.
that point. I mean, you know, you guys expect that from the committee people that you have, so I expect if they're gonna have a committee, they're gonna have to do exactly the same thing. How much is it gonna cost? And then you guys, if you decide that you wanna fund it, then you gotta find a place to put it. And the one suggestion is Washington Park, which is, you got Greenview Park, you got, you know, other places that you can put it.
Yeah.
But as far as this piece of property, I would say it's a no. But anyway, that's what they should do. They have to really sit down and come up with, because there's nothing in that presentation that tells you anything about any cost.
Are you
except
for or against the
except
skate
for
park, Frank?
Pardon me?
Are you for or against?
I'm not really against it. I'm not gonna skate, because I'm gonna be 80 years old. You know, the other thing you have to look at is the tax money that you're gonna use is paid by every resident in this town, including me. And if you're gonna use the tax money, I think you have to realize, well, how many people is this going to involve? And I know there's a pretty good crowd here. Is this the whole crowd? I don't know. Do we have a positive number of how many people are actually gonna use the park? We don't know. There's a lot of unknown questions that have to be answered before even you guys could even make a decision. So I think they have to go back and do more homework and come up to council and say, okay, this is how much we think it's gonna cost. This is how many people we think might use it. I know they use them other numbers, but I'd have to.
Yeah, the devil's in the details. The devil's in the details.
Right.
We know.
I'd have to agree with Rob Cascone, even though the other gentleman was like the GOP debates here. You know, I think Rob had some good points. You just have to do a lot of homework, which the Open Space Committee had to do, so I think they should do it too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, Mayor, we got.
This is the last
we-
one.
Well, we have
Right.
business. This is getting into a
I know, we're just gonna
debate.
do one
It's
more.
not,
we're done.
this is informational.
One more comment and we're done.
I'll make it quick.
One more comment, we're done. We'll go to official business.
My name is Rich Lasowski. I'm at 151 Lincoln Park Road in Pequannock. I just want to comment on the last gentleman's statements that he was making. I want to commend Steve and Tasha. They put a lot of effort into making these videos and the slideshows and everything. And I think it's a good discussion that we're having right now, looking into it, and it seems that the majority of people would like to look into it further. But I think what's kind of been looked over is the amount of work that they've done. They've done a lot of footwork and coming up with all this presentation and everything. And there does have to be more work done. But what I think, you know, my thought on it is that they wanted to bring this here to get the interest of the town, which I think they've done, before going and getting all that extra information.
That's
such
correct.
as where they would want to put it, how much it would cost. And from my perspective, it seems that we should really go ahead and form some kind of committee. I'm not sure how the town does that, or if a group of individuals can just get together and say we want to form a committee for the town. But I really think that that's the next step that has to be done to show that the town has a commitment to actually moving forward with it before we ask, especially Steve and Tasha, to put in so much more effort into finding all these places that it could possibly go and how much it could cost to do and design. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, and from my opinion, it looks like it's something we should pursue and form a committee to do. So that's all I had to say.
All right, thank you very much. We're not going to take any more questions, no more questions, and we do need to form a special committee. And I don't know, I'll reach to you, Dave. How do we go about doing that before we just let this go on another, 6
Well,
months?
I would use the same format we use for the solid waste advisory, limited scope, and, they have a specific task.
Right.
I think you need to decide what, they need to come up with a proposal and presentation, and at a very minimum, it should address siting, possible locations for council consideration, pros and cons, because we've heard a lot of those. It needs to have some firm cost estimates. and whatever other considerations you want in form of a proposal, give them a time frame, establish, a number of people or
Who do you think the
should
key
be
players are?
represented. Someone from Recreation Advisory Committee, someone from staff, membership
Sounds like
of the
Dave,
existing committee,
Yeah,
a council liaison.
definitely.
You don't want to make it too large, 5
No.
to 7 people, but,
Do we have to officially do that here, or what do we do?
Well, we did solid waste by resolution, and that really just kind of gave it a time frame and a number of people. At the same time, we can advertise for interest.
Okay, so we can do that
over
the
the
next
course of the
council
next
meeting.
3 weeks till the next council meeting. Get interested people, we can put a resolution together and kind of do everything.
Sounds like a path forward to me. Rest of the council? How you guys feel? Okay?
Put a resolution together.
Okay. All right, guys, we appreciate all of your input, positive and negative, however it is. We need everybody's input. Thank you very much. Thank you. You don't have to leave. You can stay. But you can leave. It's either way. We won't be insulted. Okay. At this time, are there reports or comments from volunteers serving our community?
I'm going to still say that. My mom went to work.
Friday night, 5 o'clock. Be there. Where? Where are you every night? 5 o'clock. You better be there. I will now. I'll come looking for you. I'm in town. Oh, yeah. Deal. 5 o'clock. Yeah. You're getting ready.
We know you. We know you will. Frank, you're not going home, are you? Frank, you can't go home. Okay.
3 minutes.
Anyway, Frank Spagiri from Pequannock Township Open Space. We had an open space meeting, but
Yeah, we're in, we're volunteers.
yeah, that's what I am.
One raise?
Anyway, we didn't have enough because they were giving a presentation here, and 2 of our members were here, and 2 didn't show up, so we didn't have a quorum. But anyway, the hoedown to me was a great success for us. We gave away a lot of frisbees. In fact, we gave them all away. We're gonna have to buy some more. We also passed out pamphlets on the new garbage recycling, and I'll tell you, people were really enthused about the idea of putting all their crap together
Right.
and putting it out from one can. It was amazing, you know.
But it's so late.
We gave them when it was going to start, and all the holidays were on there, when they're going to pick up and when they're not going to pick up, and then we also gave another sheet with. I know it's not open space business, but I happen to be the chairman for the garbage committee too, so I figured we'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone, you know. Anyway, it worked out very well. I don't know whether you probably go on Facebook. I mean, some people were for the hoedown, some were not for the hoedown. I thought it was pretty good. It was a fantastic day, it was a nice day, and that's it, that's my report.
Thank
And
you. Any others? This is volunteers, not public comment.
Oh, no, okay.
Yeah, we're not there yet. We're good, okay. The next item on the agenda is public comment. The public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. Any additional period of public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone, provide your name and address for the record.
Oh, yeah.
You're up.
Oh, there wasn't enough craft. This wasn't that. You know, people.
My name is Mona Snowden. I live at 52 Mountain Hill Road, Compton Plains. And I'm here almost every year for the last 15 years.
There you go.
Complaining about PD Park. Well, this year it was wonderful. I don't know what they did. The water was beautiful. Even the campers were great. It was just the best season I've had. I learned to swim. it was the best season we've had, and I hope we keep it that way. It was just, even Denise was there the weekend. I know that there wasn't enough guards and everything, and she personally did it, and I'm usually bad-mouthing her, but she did a great job, and the lake is beautiful, and it stays that way.
How was the concession stand?
That did pretty well. I spoke to her. She was very good. The prices were much lower. And there wasn't as much variety, but who needs it?
Right.
But that worked out well, and the campers were great, and the boats were good, and the guards were really, really good and attentive.
Thank you.
And I thank you.
Thank you.
was great too.
Anyone else?
Gee, nobody clapped for me.
Yes, we did.
Yes, it is. Nope, you're good.
I'm here as the usual subject, Open Pipeline. I want to congratulate you on your signage. I can read the names. I had to go up and walk and take their names individually last night, but they were very kind to me, listening to myself in that barking. We had our hearing, you spoke, and I take it that the board is going to give a negative report. So we'd like to hear what their report is, if they're ready, since you're from the board. The planning board.
It's not a negative report, they're not willing to entertain the idea of putting forth an ordinance for the town council to consider. So I don't say it's a negative report, it's just they're not willing to go forward with some kind of ordinance for the town council to consider.
And was the reason the same that you stated, because they're afraid to be sued, or was there other reasons?
There are land use attorney for the planning board is in agreement with our attorney, the township attorney, that it's possible that these are untested ordinances that we could possibly get sued or whatever in the future, and that the state is really going to be the ones who ultimately are going to decide where this pipeline's going, regardless of what anybody does.
Well, since I appeared before you last, I mentioned the two letters from the New Jersey League of Municipalities, which you said you didn't have. I do have two letters from January this year, very illuminating to me. And because I'll be brief, I'm going to leave copies with Carol that you can read them. And they get into preemption by a superior political entity. The public utilities are superseded by federal law under the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. However, because the pipeline, who has not even filed anything yet that could be scrutinized by any agency, federal, state, or local like we are, so we're talking about something, a hypothetical issue, and I don't agree. There's other reasons why I think if you did pass an ordinance and they wanted to sue you, just change the ordinance at the time of suit. It's another argument I made last night. However, what the material that was sent, and I'll give you the copy. First of all, is Pequannock a member of the New Jersey League of Municipalities?
Yes, we are.
So you should, these are very important letters. They deal with eminent domain and preemption. And clearly it cites in there, for my edification at least, that if Pilgrim does file, they're not covered under the Bureau of Public Utilities. They're a private entity, therefore they can use the full use of eminent domain. And they would probably come under the direction, not direction, but under the scrutiny of the Department of Environmental Protection. And they have suggested from the DEPs that under the statute of 4810, whatever it is, which encompasses a later Title 20, that they follow procedures contained within that New Jersey statute. And part of the suggestion is that they have an environmental impact investigation rather than environmental assessment based under the National Environmental Protection Act. You folks here, or the attorneys that know more about that than I do. But the fact is, reading this thing and having some experience in Bloomfield, is when the state comes through and makes a decision, they supersede or preeminent as this decision over any local law you pass. I just want to know what you think you're going to do if the state gives them approval to build a pipeline. I understand all of you are against the pipeline. We've gone over this before. So what is it that you believe that you can do to stop them from building a pipeline?
We have some, I know that our attorney, Mr. Usteich, has a statement. He did speak to the attorney from the CAP, so he'd like to say a little bit about that. And I know Mr. Holberg has some information that he would like to address on where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I appreciate also, Dave, you making the copies of the dialogue with the Assemblyman Scott Romano and the opinions in that, but it was very illuminating to me also. And I appreciate your efforts on the township's behalf. So if the attorney would like to speak.
Well, I did just want to update you, because I did have an opportunity to talk to Ms. Luang, who's, contact.
I don't know who she is or what about.
Yeah, whose contact was provided to us. And she was, she's an extremely knowledgeable person. She has particularly a lot of knowledge about the science and the background on the Pilgrim Pipeline, of course. She was very generous with her time and sharing her views. She had been involved, extensively, I guess, with Chatham when they went through this process, and has some strong beliefs that this ordinance, this concept of using an ordinance, is a effective tool to potentially protect the public from this particular pipeline. She provided a great deal of information. She emailed me a whole lot of information that had been provided to the other communities when they looked at it. I do agree with her on the point of, municipalities have to do their homework with this kind of stuff. You don't just follow lock, stock, and barrel what the next municipality has done. If you do get challenged, it's very important to show that you put a lot of work, a lot of effort into looking at all these issues. And she readily acknowledged, when it comes to zoning, every town is a little unique. So in the town she was dealing with, it was strictly a residential community. They had strong feelings about the inconsistency of a pipeline with residential stuff. This is stuff planning board people are familiar with and used to. It's zoning. But in our community, we would have to look uniquely at, our community has a much broader land use. We have industrial zones, we have commercial zones. So the same cookie cutter approach, just saying no pipeline anywhere in the community, period, might not be the correct approach. And, she frankly also acknowledged some of the concerns about some of the legal issues that go in this. They're untested. We don't have answers to them yet. I will continue to review the material that she sent. Our boards will continue to look at things. We'll continue a dialogue. But it really didn't change my view of the need to be cautious, careful, follow our process, and before looking at moving forward. And I think we'll continue to do that.
Well, I can understand that, and that, in fact, your opinion on an ordinance now. But barring that, if they do get permission, how are you going to overcome being preempted by the state?
We're never going to overcome being preempted by the state.
So if the
state
state
decides to take over and entirely regulate this, there's nothing we're going to be able to do.
So nothing you can do here, so then you have to organize, and I think you should, with other towns on the state level. And my efforts there are somewhat disappointing. Scott Romano's message to you was the Assembly Resolution 191 encompasses all this, but that's an opinion. I asked, I think it's Lonnie Miller Ryan, it's the legislative aide for Scott Romano, if she was aware of the Senator Cody bill that would force companies like Pilgrim to be under the jurisdiction of the Bureau of Public Utilities, and she was unaware of it. And of course, talking to the Pilgrim people down there, that's been in committee since last May. As you know, this session is for 214 and 215. It'll probably end in a month or two. I see nothing on the state level or any centralized, organized effort to stop this, even though all of northern New Jersey is against it. I see no coordinated effort by anybody that is going to do anything that will stop this. Now, the reason I'm so convinced that I've seen nothing of any substantial opposition that will stop this, because one of the citations of several suits back in the 50s, and one of them involved the town of Bloomfield, where I'm from, and then one of the court decisions on from 52 to 54 involved Bloomfield, and there was an opening where it regarded gas stations and restaurants, and I won't get into the details, but it became an issue in Bloomfield when McDonald's wanted to build right next, in one of the best sections of town. And the first thing anybody in the town knew about it, there were boots on the ground, spades and picks in the ground, and they said, right over your back fence, what is that? That's the drive-through for McDonald's. He had gotten permission from the state, and Judith Stanley was head of the Garden State Parkway Commission, lovely lady. However, they didn't look at that little section that they had to consult the town about the gas station or restaurant. And all they had at the gas station were the vending machines. They were going to expand it up to McDonald's. If you're not familiar with the area, it's where the police barracks is there. So they were going to run roughshod over the town. And there was another instance that combined the two towns of Nutley and Bloomfield. So I do think somebody here or somewhere should be taking the lead in coordinating the activities of the 30 or 40 municipalities and the 5 counties up here, because once this steamroller starts rolling, they're going to crush us like bugs. That's my opinion.
All right, thank you.
Now, 2 other things I'd like to ask. We've all assumed, since they did surveys on the Cedar Crest property, and we've stopped them from doing that, not us, but the CEO. Dave, you're still allowed to do it if need be in the town in Mountainside Park. We all assumed it's going to be parallel to the Spectre gas pipeline. However, I'm talking to some of the people from Parks and Recreation. They apparently, when they do surveys, they put these little flags as markers of the proposed route. As you know, the park has a ridge right through most of it. Most of it slants down towards town. A minority portion of it slants towards Cedar Crest. I always assumed the pipeline would be slanting towards Cedar Crest. From what he tells me, I think the route may be down over in your area, over in Mountain View Avenue, in that area. So you have 2 people connected with Parks and Recreation. Do you know where the route was they were surveying?
I believe it did go down to Mountain Avenue, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it did too.
Yeah,
Over the hill down to the...
So it's going to be on that side of the ridge?
I believe so.
Well, the existing pipeline right-of-way runs parallel to the Cedar Crest property,
Which is on the west side of the ridge.
up over the mountain,
Yeah,
and then it kind of moves across, because Mountainside Park narrows at
Yeah.
the southern end,
mhm.
and that right-of-way is right at the end of the paved portion of Mountain Avenue
Yeah.
at its terminus. So, I mean, that would be the same right-of-way.
Well, I don't wish you will, but I found a little solace there that if there was a spill, it'd be heading your direction and not mine. Okay, so, but in any event, I think, does anybody really know what their line of the pipeline is? Then it wouldn't be on our side.
I think it's too premature to say.
Yeah, they have not presented a proposed path. They're still doing their survey and preparation work.
And they're also a phantom company we all heard about, but as nobody, as we discussed before, has done due diligence with them
Right.
yet, as far as I know. Is that correct?
When you say due diligence, I'm not exactly sure what you say.
Well, I read in the paper there's 4 people that started this pipeline. It's a startup company. Who are they? Where they're from? Now, in my own mind, the people making the decisions that affect in northern New Jersey I don't even think they're anywhere near New Jersey. They're probably in Houston or Calgary, Canada, or somewhere else. They're drawing lines here and there.
I'm sure that they would come sit and speak with your group. I mean, they came and they spoke to the Environmental Commission.
Correct.
And I'm sure that instead of guessing and accusing and all these things, I think I would if I was your group, I would invite them in and listen to their side.
No, we already heard of that. We don't want the pipeline, period.
No, I'm
And
not just talking about the
nobody's
pipeline, I'm
told me
talking about
what
you're
good it's
asking
going
us
to do.
these questions that we can't answer.
No, but you're a
And
representative.
if you met with them, you would
Yeah.
have the answers to these
And
questions.
that's what we did. We invited the Pilgrim representatives in and they
Yeah.
came in.
Right.
And had they convinced you to what benefit it would bring to Pequannock?
They didn't have that much.
We're not that far yet.
Yeah, no, they, excuse me, they didn't have that much information yet. They just told us where they were and what they were doing, and they did talk about a proposed route, though. But
About what?
about the I don't have it in front of me, but I think there was a proposed route of
Yeah.
how they wanted to,
Well, we
put
have,
it.
two
But
di-
and they were open to questions and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, I was going to give in my report later from the Environmental Commission. The
Is that going to be here tonight?
well,
Go ahead.
I might as well do it now. I was just going to say that the Environmental Commission has reviewed the CAP document, that you guys had put together and submitted. They will have a full report back to you guys and council. The chair of the Environmental Commission had a lot of input into it, but he wanted to collectively get the rest of the commission members to put their input in. Kathy, you've seen a draft
dialoguing
of
with
it
them.
as well. There are some concerns. There's concerns about the risk of the pipeline to our water supply, and there was a question that still they feel hasn't been answered, that what is the benefit to the town? They're not seeing, the offset of risk to a benefit. So that's a question they continue to ask. And what would the required steps be down the line if there was a mishap? What is it? Is it go to a lawsuit? Is it, what is, if there was a mishap down the line? And collectively, we do have to have more discussion. That's why we didn't pass it yet. But there has been some discussion around the ordinance that we keep asking about. Besides the legal discussion from council, some members felt like it might not be a bad idea to pass the ordinance. But there's more to come with that report, which we should have to shortly, definitely by the next environmental.
So as you can
meeting.
see, we are doing things behind the scenes. We're not just sitting here.
Very cooperative.
Right.
Are we going to get a formal report?
There's no formal report.
Or
I told you that.
is it going to be recorded anyway, whether it's oral or otherwise?
It's in the
The
minutes.
mic guys.
That's what, in the
It's
minutes?
in the minutes from yesterday. There's no formal report.
It'll be in the minutes. he
From
said.
which, from here or there?
No, from the planning board. You have to see
Planning
Linda
board.
for the minutes.
And one last thing, I said, I asked you what evidence you have that they're even going to file or would sue you, and you said there is evidence. Or
I never said there was evidence.
it sort of implied you had something. I asked you, and you said just
Never,
implied.
ever implied
Well,
that
I
they
guess
were gonna
two of
sue
us
us.
sort of heard differently, but
Okay.
I'll take your
Never
word for it.
implied. Thank you.
I want to thank you for your attention and patience, above all.
Good, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Rob Casco, 9 4th Street. You all know I'm against the skateboard park. The one thing that I did think about after their presentation was done, the one thing that I would support, and I don't think anyone has really thought of, is I know the planning board passed it, and I think the council voted on it at the last meeting, was the ordinance to allow sports activities in the industrial zones. So we do have empty warehouse space. If there is that much interest, if there is that much need, then I think one way to go about it, which I think everybody could get behind, is to have the Economic Development Commission, the Skateboard Committee, and the Chamber of Commerce to look for businesses that run indoor skateboard parks that would want to locate here. If there's that much need for it, I think that's a win-win situation. It increases the ratables, it gives them a year-round facility to use, and there's no tax money expended. So that's maybe something we can all get behind. Just to comment on the hoedown, it was a great day. I was there, as I am every year. The one thing I was disappointed about, you all know how much I love my dog. I was disappointed that I don't know if he's the temporary or the fill-in, or I had no idea who he was, park ranger, came up to me and said, you can't have your dog here, you have to bring him home. And, for such a beautiful day, such a beautiful event, and being that there was a dog sitting right under the popcorn stand, I thought it was a little arbitrary, but maybe we can look into that. I see, no reason why leashed dogs that are well behaved. I mean, I think as a dog owner, I can say, I think most dog owners that take their dogs in public are responsible for picking up after them. I don't know. I've seen many dogs there in the past. I've never heard of there being any issues. So that was a little disheartening, and maybe we can.
I'm gonna bring it up at the next Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting to see if they want to revisit that ordinance and make a recommendation to council to see if we keep it the same way or if we think it should be changed.
Right. The other thing is, an hour after you left or whenever, I saw somebody walking a dog in there. And
Oh,
it's
I saw plenty of dogs.
Right, I said, sure hope Rob doesn't see
I guess
it.
I was singled out then. So
Yeah, again.
thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Jeannie A. Bear from 11 Copley Court, Pompton Plains. And like my friend Norma, I've been before you in the past with complaints about the lake. I was ready to leave, but I decided to come back because at one meeting or two meetings, many of us stood up and said the same thing.
Jeannie, speak up.
Microphone.
And I think that good things bear repeating. The lake was stellar this year. The water was clear well into September. Usually by August, it's questionable. It was great. Denise was great. The campers are better managed every year. I mean, in the beginning, you couldn't tell the campers from the counselors. They were so young.
That's great.
But things have turned around. We've seen a lot of young families there this year. Denise said membership was up by 20%, and I hope the way the lake was this year encourages even more people to join next year.
That's great.
Sorry she wasn't here tonight to hear that, but you'll
I'm
let
sure
her
it'll
know.
be relayed to her.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll
Jean,
just,
Jean,
I was
can you-
gonna,
And I found in the parking lot a long time ago. I've been waiting to see you.
Oh, wow.
It's got your name on it.
I was gonna say something with my Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
Wow.
We've heard nothing but great things about the lake this year. I commend the town for, I think the last 2 years, they've lowered the lake more than they had in the past, ever since the berm did break. I think that has a lot to do with the water quality. They were able to get a lot more of the stuff out at the bottom. And I
That's
think we
right.
should continue to roll the dice and lower it to the level
The way
that
we
we
used
did
to.
last year to get that muck and stuff out and see what happens there. I think, the town, the engineer, Bill Pereira, DPW, I mean, they all should be commended, not just Parks and Rec, on
Absolutely.
how the quality of the water and the lake was this year, so.
It was great. You
It was
could
a great
see right
job.
to the bottom. I mean, you can't ask for better than that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. Tom, and that's it.
That's it. Let's go.
Really quick, as Dave said, and I relayed, echoed that at the beginning of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting, how great PV Park was, and thank you to the mayor, council, DPW, as Dave said, Parks and Rec, everybody involved with making that so great. I took pictures at the beginning of the season, and to show people how low PV Park was, and it was amazing how much they drained it down, how much clean sand they put in, how excellent the bottom looked. And then when the water came in on top of that, it really made a difference the whole season long. So thank you, please continue. Now, a couple of things Rob said. If they do, just to mention, if they do that skateboard park inside in a building in an industrial area, that means they're gonna charge for that. So, a lot of young people don't have the finances to go to a skateboard park and pay for it every time. And so it kind of defeats the purpose of it. I just wanted to mention that quickly. And also, one other thing, what were we talking about? Sorry.
Boy, Tom, I'm starting to
Yeah.
worry.
Boy, Tom.
Must be that dunk tank.
He hasn't been here.
You gotta write it down.
Okay, that was it.
How many times were you dunked?
Oh, a lot, but that was okay, that was part of the fun. Oh, and it was the dogs at the Greenview Park too. And as Dave said, it would take the council's direction because that's how it is ordinance-wise
Yes.
in town. No dogs at Greenview Park. And if Rob was singled out, it was just happened to be that way. It wasn't intentional.
I've received emails, Rob, you're
But
not the
It's
only
not
one.
just Greenview Park.
No,
No
no,
dogs
no.
are allowed at any park except for the dog park and Mountainside.
Right. And I have heard instances as Parks and Rec chair of people having big problems with dogs at Greenview Park. And that's one of the reasons I highlighted it at Parks and Rec meetings. You know, we got to really work on enforcing this because people are starting to really complain. Because that's the law. You know, if you want to change it, fine. But that's the way it is now. So if there's problems, we have to enforce it more.
Right, well, we want to, we'd like your committee to review it, and then we'll discuss it.
Excellent.
All
That's
right,
fine.
thank you.
Thank you.
You want me to send it to Denise, or do you want to?
I'll let you do it. It'll come more official that way. Thank you, Dave.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we've reached 30 minutes of public comment. As previously noted, an additional period of public comment is reserved later in the meeting. There are no public hearings scheduled for this evening. Next on the agenda, the ordinance for introduction. Next on the agenda, items for resolution. Ms. Marsh.
Yes, we have Resolution 2015-163, approving the designated special event permit application. And that was changed from the time it was submitted for discussion.
Right.
Resolution 2015-164, approving issuance of an alcoholic beverage control social affair special permit for the Deborah Hospital Foundation Greater Pompton Area Chapter. 165, confirming the designated membership in the Pequannock Township Fire Department. 166, authorizing the cancellation of grant appropriation reserve balances. Resolution 2015-167, requesting an extension of the award of contract for the Sunset Road Phase 5 project. 168, declaring a default on the Boulevard Sidewalk Reconstruction 2 contract by FDM Construction LLC. 169, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the September 21st, 2015 bill list. And 170, authorizing the cancellation of grant receivable and appropriation reserve balances.
Thank you. Are there comments on the resolutions from council? Anyone?
Dave, do you think that we're not going to have a problem with 167? Do you think they'll just give us that extension?
Yeah, the initial extensions are generally routine.
Okay.
And since they provided us with a secondary grant just a few months ago, I think it's in everybody's best interest to, they'll understand that.
Okay.
It's the second extension that becomes a problem.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, is if this was the first extension or second, because this was supposed to be spring of this year.
Well, this was supposed to be a summer project this year, and then we put the application in for the sidewalks.
Right, nice.
And we received that and actually just appropriated that money about a month ago.
Oh, that came in a month ago, okay.
And are we just letting FDM construction out of this bid?
We are not. The purpose of this resolution, Councilman, is to in fact declare them in default, which is the first step towards approaching their insurance company and obtaining. The reality is they have decided they are defaulting on their bid. We will go after their insurance company, who has already made contact and indicated a willingness to work with us to find a solution to it.
They have a bond, right?
They do. They actually never posted the bond because they declined to work with their bonding company to do it. But they did have a consent of surety, so the bonding company is still on the hook. My understanding from Ms. Lyon is there's been a conversation, the bonding company recognizes that and is prepared to work with us on it.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out. So it's not that they were unable, they refused to do it.
Yes,
so
apparently there were some conditions put on them in order to get the bond
Yeah.
that they did not want to comply with.
Yeah.
That was our understanding.
So let me see if I understand it. They are not going to be doing.
They are
the
not
project.
going to be doing this project.
Because I was going to say, if we're going to force them to do it.
No, they
probably
are not
going to be a.
They are not going to be doing the
wonderful
project because
job.
they have defaulted in the
Okay.
project. But when the project is done and by whom, we will be looking to them and/or their insurance company, presuming that the cost of doing it is more than their bid was.
Right.
Okay.
So that will be going.
So we're
Well, we'll probably be taking action at the next meeting for the next step. But in terms of where we are now, there's a couple different options that we have to move forward. We're still looking at the second lowest bidder from the original bid, and the cost difference is about $6,000. So it would essentially be that $6,000 that we're looking to recover from their bond. The bond company is familiar with this, and while they haven't agreed completely in detail with that, I think we're moving in the same direction.
Okay.
Are we good then? We have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolutions 215-163 to 215-170.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes.
Wow.
Next item on agenda, items for discussion. This is one, the airport noise that I had added after some dialogue or one-sided dialogue with the owner and operator of the Lincoln Park Airport.
You had a dialogue with them, or?
One-sided, no, mine, out,
Okay.
nothing back.
Okay, because I've had many people complaining to me about these helicopters
Yeah.
buzzing over the town constantly on Saturdays and Sundays. And, you know, it's kind of embarrassing because, of course, I live right in, real close to the airport, so I know that they're gonna be there, but they tend to keep circling around and around and around, and people are complaining about that. I don't know if there's a height restriction, or not a height, or a restriction on how high they have to be.
We've gone to Rodney and FAA before, and we get the same answer, they're in compliance with what they're.
Well, I actually pulled down a study that was done on non-military helicopters, and I shared that with Peter DeRosa, and I'm sure he's aware of it too. I would tend to think after reading that they're not in compliance now. I don't have a measuring tape to see how high up they are, and I don't have anything to measure decibels either. But I know that when I have a barbecue in my backyard, I cannot speak to the person who's next to me. I have to stop my conversation. And when I'm at my community pool, when we're there, we have to stop speaking when this happens too. I think when I first joined council in 2010, Ed Engelbart brought it up. And I don't think it was as much traffic. I think actually the traffic has increased over the years. I think it's very popular to learn how to ride a helicopter. And there are, like Rich said, they are using the same patterns over and over again.
Circling over and over.
And they're coming in to try to land, and then they're going back up, and then they're coming back in.
Yep.
to
It's
try to
training.
land and hover.
It's training, yeah.
Right,
You know.
and it's very noisy, and if we really need to do a decimal thing, you know, I have cameras and stuff around my
Right.
board. We can
Right.
get it, we can get the height too, because I could set something up to get the height.
I think the constituents that I've spoken to have realized that we live by an airport.
Yeah,
We're not
and I
gonna-
accept that, I don't,
Yeah.
to me, you know, planes coming in, it's nice, it's not bad, they take off, but when the helicopter keeps going around and
It's like
around-
sometimes if he could go west and then he could go east and go south and then north, but it seems to be the same pattern.
Circle.
So I don't know how we open up a dialogue,
I
some
just-
cooperation.
I just want to make one other comment, Mayor.
Yeah.
Lincoln Park.
Maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, somebody in a jet flew, this is 2-engine jet, must have been doing 300-400 miles an hour, treetop level, and buzzed the airport and then did it almost a vertical climb out of there. I mean, I almost called the cops, that's how, I couldn't believe it, it's just unbelievable.
Did you get the tail number?
They were going too fast.
Didn't you have your radar gun?
I checked the tapes, it went by too fast. I couldn't
Dave,
get
do
it.
you get a lot of complaints from residents?
I get periodic complaints, and I will tell you, you know, just from having gone through this process several times before, yeah, aviation is not something that is regulated locally. It is clearly within, you know, the regulatory authority of the FAA. And that's kind of where we've ended up, and we've always, the current airport owner defends his right vehemently to, you know, maintain aircraft operations there. And to the extent that he has a couple commercial operations, I mean, I'm happy to sit in a meeting, but I don't think it's going to be productive if we're going to ask him to voluntarily ask his commercial customers
Right.
to reduce their activity. Just because I've
I don't
We've
think we're
had this
asking
con-
them to reduce. I
We've
think
had
we're
this
asking
conversation
them to
before.
Change the pattern slightly.
And he can't change the pattern, airport patterns.
Let's just find out
And
if
what,
he's
what
in
I'm not a pilot, but I have a number of people who I'm extremely good friends with, who are aviators. The airport flight patterns are by the FAA. I mean, there's a very specific incoming, outgoing pattern, which is partly dependent on wind, which direction they approach from. And it's a 180 degree, two left turns approach at every single airport. So if the wind is coming from the south, they're going to fly north along the boulevard, they're going to make a left turn, they're going to make another left turn, and they're going to land north to south.
We don't have a problem with that. We don't have a-
And
Right.
helicopters,
They have one
to the
pattern.
extent that they have a different flight dynamic, are required to use the same patterns as fixed-wing aircraft. So that while there are height restrictions for all kinds of aircraft when they're in flight, when they're in approach to an airport, it's an inverted cone. They have to follow that path. There is no other path for them to follow.
Well, I don't think it's the approach that is the issue. I think it's the circling around.
And that's their touch and goes. That's how you learn to fly, whether it be fixed wing or a helicopter.
Well, based on what I read, and
continual
yeah.
approaches and takeoffs
Yeah.
to practice that maneuver.
So your guess would be they're in compliance with what they're doing over there, probably.
And my guess would be they're not, based on the feet that I've read. That I think it's 1,500 feet or something, and they're practically touching the treetops.
When they're in flight.
Yes.
They're not in flight.
No, they're in their
approaching
circle.
airport.
No, they're in their circle, and they're in flight. And I can't.
They're in approach.
How do we? I don't know. I don't know how to advise people who constantly complain to me about it, and they say, Mayor Winterfield, can't you do something? And I'm like, I don't even know what to say to people anymore.
Well, I would say, you draft out a letter of Rodney again, asking them to ask the FAA and get the response back that way.
Well, I'll
Which we
show
have done.
We have correspondence from 5 years ago, from 10 years ago. Each time this has come up, I think it might be worthwhile to have the meeting with Pete and actually go to the airport so that at least you kind of have an understanding of the flight patterns that are in place at that airport.
And how is he monitoring, or someone, whoever's responsible, that these people are in compliance? How often do they check that they're in compliance?
How would they check?
Yeah, how do they?
Kathy, do you know anybody that works at Robin's place?
We'll send them a formal resolution.
All I
I'm
can
not
say
gonna
is
do
the
that.
airport definitely drove out, the woman that lived right across the street.
Yeah.
She's out of there and they bought it.
I mean, the only compliance is, enforcement is on complaints by the FAA. There's no other.
We have to complain to the FAA,
She's
is really
trying to
what it
expand
comes
on
down
that.
to, if I'm hearing this properly.
Well, is this something you do as a community, or is this something that we have to just tell individuals, here's the phone number, file a complaint? Or I don't know how we handle this with people. Wherever I go, people ask me, and I don't even know what to say anymore.
Imagine if we lived by Newark Airport.
Yeah, right? And we understand his neighbor. I don't say we want to restrain his trade. I think we just want to.
Again,
Maybe some
I don't-
education would be more.
I don't have a problem except with the helicopters. They are extremely noisy and they keep circling round and round and round.
Yeah, they constantly are in the same
Right,
exact.
they take off, they fly to north, they go into the
Yeah, they go over your house around.
approach path and back down and
And
back
then
up
back
again.
up again.
I'd be curious to know why he even wanted to buy that house and what he's going to do with that.
And did he get the right price?
Maybe that's where the helicopters are going to go up and down in
Yeah,
the
right?
future. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why they can't fly further out, up towards New York State and go around the onion fields or whatever up there and then fly back or something. I don't know. I think that he is too low, but I don't know how to measure that
Well, I think it's very
based on
clear.
what I read.
When taking off and landing, there is no.
Well, they're not taking up and landing over my house because I'm nowhere near the airport that way.
Well, you want to light
That's still part of the.
Helicopters don't approach like planes. Helicopters kind of hover
They have
around.
to use the same flight path.
Well, I was told by someone who flies airplanes also, and he said that it's 1,500 feet, and that's what I read, and that he said that's like the treetops and then double that. That's about what it would be. And they're clearly closer than that.
I
But that's
believe,
flying.
in growing up right there, right near Richen,
It's
where
not
you live
approach.
now.
Right, where you-
Approach is when you
It was
start going
part
down.
of, it's still part of their takeoff, so I don't think they're 1,500 feet, but once they get past their takeoff zone, that's when they have to go to the 1,500 feet.
Right. They're not going past the takeoff zone because they're flying north,
Right.
and then they're rotating to come back down.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
They're just using the flight path of takeoff and landing for practice.
Right.
They're practicing a lot, especially
Yeah.
Saturdays and Sundays.
Because that's when they don't
With that
work.
said, I apologize.
What is so astonishing?
Do you have anything you want to report on anything quickly?
Yes,
You got
the
your
first
light bulb
thing-
there.
I got my light bulb, I want a light bulb at the, okay. The first aid squad doesn't want the skate park one here. That's my report.
I would hope one of them is going to be on the committee.
I don't think so. See you guys.
Good night, Rich.
Good night.
Good idea.
David? Next on the agenda.
Me?
Yeah, we might as well go to you. We're all out of order tonight.
Ordinances?
Well, they're
Yeah,
placeholders.
those are just placeholders.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Do we need to talk about them at all, or we just have them
I don't
as
think
placeholders?
so.
No, we already talked about them. Okay.
We'll talk about it next time as well.
Okay, so the pump station for Village Area Sewer Project was successfully tested today. There are a few outstanding items that need to be corrected in the line along Route 23. Our expectation is that the commercial area along Route 23 will have access to the sewer system during November of this year. Construction along Jackson Avenue will begin over the next week. Sections of Jackson Avenue will be closed during construction, so the next 6 to 8 weeks there are going to be closures on Jackson. Final RFPs have been distributed for the elevated water tank engineering. Proposals are due back to be submitted October 29th. Chris Teachin has started work in my office and will be handling a variety of projects. The first thing I introduced him to was Eleanor Bogert. He'll be managing the site visits for the various firms. Yes. He'll also be working on a bunch of other things, and I will have him at a meeting in the near future to introduce him to all of you. Township staff will attend an in-service training session on public agency customer service Wednesday, October 7th. Some of our offices will be closed where we have limited coverage, so that most of our staff will be able to attend that day.
Okay. I just have one question about the village. Will there be any paving that takes place before winter? It's a war zone back there. I mean,
It is. We'll go out and there are areas that need some work. It doesn't make sense to do final paving
Right.
at this point because there's still going to be settlement. If we were to go out and do what we did along the turnpike, we'd end up redoing a good portion of it next year. So sometime before the winter comes, we'll do an evaluation and figure out the areas that are really most
big
critical,
holes,
and
yeah.
there's some intersections. Village near Jackson, which is high traffic, that could use some work. We may use a limited amount of material removal and repaving,
well, I know it's not the,
but it's not going to be a lot.
and that's not the time of year to do it. I know that. So the short answer is most likely just very
Not
limited,
much.
just not real paving.
We'll
just-
try and address the real issues.
Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. Dave, do you have anything to report?
No, I think I said enough for tonight.
Melissa?
Yeah, real quick, under reports and notices, I noticed that Pompton Lakes did a resolution for appeal to the flood maps.
Right.
I want to know what Pequannock is going to do. We talked about an appeal process,
Yes.
but I would just wonder if we have plans. Go ahead.
And if the map remains in its current form, yes, we should and will appeal, that being the council's will. Understand that the Passaic County meeting that occurred was the kickoff point for the 90 or 120 day appeal process. So the resolution they did, which objects to it but very specifically appeals it, we haven't opened up that 90-day window yet. So it would be premature for us to appeal something that hasn't officially been
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't do it more regionally and they did it by county, but I understand.
County rather
Yeah.
than river basin.
Yeah.
Do you have a
I
date?
know.
Have they approached
Do
you
we-
about
yeah, do we
any
know?
dates?
I'm not aware of the date yet.
I mean, I feel like we're like the long lost
How much
Morris
notice will
County
they give
town
us?
that's kind of out there by itself, you
Okay.
know?
So Dave, you say if the map changes, so you think that there's a possibility what the maps that we received may change?
It's remote, but that.
Only if you appeal it.
That's what we've been.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I think if.
We've
it's not
been
gonna
meeting
change
with these
it.
other communities and working towards that, to try and get an administrative change before it goes into the political hearing process. We knew it was a long shot, but we're still working on it.
But like Pompton Lakes and some of these other towns hired like independent
H2M,
firms.
yes, and we're
Gonna
doing
do
the same thing.
Okay.
We were hoping that
We'd get on with
that would
them.
materialize into changes before the map was presented.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, I'd just like to keep
Yeah,
that
I was
moving
thinking
forward.
about that too, Melissa.
And then on my council report, I basically said everything I think about the Environmental Commission. They did meet, their next meeting is October 14th. Before that time, we'll have a completed, at least feedback to council and to the coalition against the Pilgrim Pipeline on that report. So, what else do I have? Flood Committee also met. Joe Golden, the township engineer, he's going to be at the next flood meeting. We were hoping he was going to be at September's meeting, but apparently he didn't have it in his book. He knows now when it is. It is Thursday, October 8th, and he will be there to discuss the flood committee's involvement primarily with the CRS rating system and public outreach and what we can do to pull things together for the town to really help in that rating.
Okay.
And then the Economic Development Committee meets tomorrow night at 7:30.
All right, thanks, Melissa. Jay, do you have anything?
Just with Shade Tree, that we've received complaints from Ave residents about the deteriorating trees. I believe we've removed 3 or 4, and there's a heavy pruning operation going in. I guess the residents are looking at the trees and not liking parking the cars underneath them.
For a while, they didn't want us to take any trees out, so this is a little bit of a switch.
Yeah, it's changed. Things
Yeah.
are changing. But the
Right.
trees are aging, so
It's a beautiful street.
it's becoming more realistic.
I think we should take the sidewalks away from that street.
I know.
Terrible.
Yeah, I mean, the sidewalks are horrible. on
Yeah,
that
they're
street.
scary.
Nobody really works there.
But you can't walk
It's like a
on them.
haunted,
You can't walk on them in the dark.
what do you think, Dave, about those? What do we do? You can't fix those sidewalks.
Well, there's no point in replacing them
With
No.
the trees.
with the trees.
Which street is
If
this?
we, yeah, I think that the character of the street changes if you remove the sidewalks.
I know.
And, you know, part of the residents', passion has been about the character of the street. So
But I think.
It's
I think
changing
they'd
the
rather
to you
see us-
guys, really, that's a policy issue.
What if someone fell on that sidewalk and got hurt?
It's the homeowner.
Oh, jeez.
Like anything else, the township will likely receive a claim, a tort claim, perhaps a lawsuit. That's not unusual. You know, we invoke all of our usual immunities
Right.
in terms of, the statutory immunity and the fact that we do regular sidewalk replacement. We have a plan in place. We haven't completely ignored it.
Right.
It has not been a high priority because it's not high traffic. On a regular basis, we're spending a lot of money replacing sidewalks. So I think we are well protected in terms of our
Liability.
position in terms of the lawsuit. Notwithstanding that, something needs to get done. We either need to replace them or we need to remove them, but it hasn't made sense to replace them.
Well, maybe the Shade Tree
To this
Commission could take that charge on a little bit and
Okay, but
and
it's
start the discussion?
Well, the location of replacement trees, are they being put in a place
behind the curb,
that
behind the sidewalk.
would support
New sidewalks?
new sidewalks?
Yes.
So,
Okay.
Those yards aren't that big, the front yards.
No, they're not.
Well,
Well,
if you actually go down the street and see where the storm sewers are, you realize where the curb line is.
Where it really
the
is.
right of way
It's
is long.
Well, there's, what
It just
people
doesn't
really
appear that way.
perceive as their lawn, and what's
It's gonna be
really,
in somebody's, in the middle of somebody's lawn, I
yeah,
would think.
it's like
You
the
go
fire
down the
hydrant
street,
on my lawn.
That's what we are.
Yeah, right?
And it on private property.
And that's the middle of the road, I would think.
Okay. On my report, the library we met till 10:30 the other night, talking about architects for the expansion based on the donation they have. They've narrowed it down to 2. We will have a special meeting to discuss that. That will be advertised. I think it's September 30th, right after our joint session with the Board of Ed. Okay. My question is though, is that we talk about that. If they're talking about expanding and they're talking about adding air conditioning units and different things, what is the capital expenditures increase to the taxpayers, and how does all that work? And do we have any say, and they just do whatever? Just so I sit on both sides here, and I just need some.
I'm gonna, the library board is an independent body to the extent that they have funds available, they can direct how they're spent.
Right.
We have to provide them with their minimum appropriation. A bequest that was given to them is certainly within their authority to spend.
Mm-hmm.
The building is a municipal building. It's a township owned and maintained building. So to the extent that they're going to do work to it, there should be some type of review and probably approval process by the governing body to say, okay, we think that's a good idea. To the extent that they're going to increase the operating costs, there should be an understanding, and council should kind of agree to fund that in the future. If there are going to be capital expenses in excess of what they have available to them, and they're going to be looking to the town to supplement
No, they are not.
the capital cost.
They are not, but I'm just thinking down the road as they increase the capital items that are there, that it will be a further down the road expense, not immediately, because they want to work within their budget, and they're trying to figure out how to cut the project back to do that.
If they're going to be able to cover all of their utility expenses within the tax levy that they legally receive, then, there's not much that we can do because they're an independent body.
Okay.
They're going to be looking to us to pay added electric, added maintenance costs, and the township does cover, HVAC maintenance.
Right.
That is a municipal cost.
Even if they add additional units.
That's something that the council should consider and provide either a yes or no to.
So as they-
a yes or find another way.
So as they solidify what they're going to do, they should come here.
Yes.
And, okay. And also there's something that they'll be asking about, and I don't know where this is, they're a nonprofit. We own the building. They're talking about us waiving the fees. Is that something that's done or not done?
They're nonprofit.
It is something that is done. We do construction code fees. We don't charge ourselves fees. We don't charge the Board of Ed fees, and we routinely give the board a list of the fees we haven't charged them, just so that they see that we're being nice people.
Okay.
We typically wouldn't charge the fire department or the first aid squad.
So they'd be the same type of entity.
So yes, we could and probably would waive those fees, but that should come as a formal request.
So it all should come together. All the requests come together. And there's my one other comment about the hoedown. I thought it was a really nice hoedown. I think the attendance might have been down slightly, but I think, again, because it coincides with the fire, and that's always an issue. There is a lot of chatter on Facebook, not that that's any kind of thing official, but it is a lot of what people feel. So I think that, not that I like a lot of special committees, but maybe next year as we get closer, in the springtime, maybe a group of residents who have things to say could get together and just kind of chat about maybe how to maybe reinvent the hoedown a little bit. I've been in town, over 20 years, and I see some changes too. But it's a great event where I see people that I never get to see. But I see, I don't know what to say. I don't know, you guys have been here forever. I don't know what you have to say about the hoedown, but I think that maybe just a little bit of maybe input from the community might help, especially about this dog thing. Because, as you know, I received a complaint, we heard that tonight, and there was a tagline that said, no scooters, no bikes, no dogs, no skateboards
And no
at the
skateboards.
park. And it was, you had this beautiful flyer inviting you, and then you had this certain sect of people, or whatever, not allowed, but I don't think anybody read the bottom. You know, and I think that was just thrown on there because people, oh, we have an ordinance, we better make sure we're going to start enforcing it now. I think we kind of blindsided people, and I think that the no dog thing, depending on which way we go, it should be at the park entrance, not once you get in. You know, there's 3 major entrances there, and I don't think it's obvious that these things are not allowed. I don't know, whatever. But that's just my 2 cents about the hoedown. I think it was a great hoedown. I just think...
The dog issue, I think, comes from a health issue because of what the fields are used for.
Right.
And
Yeah, right, okay, yeah. Next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized. Come to the microphone, provide your name and address for the record. Sharon.
I'm gonna finish out tonight. Good evening, Council. Sharon Taylor, 19 Libby Avenue, Pompton Plains section of Pequannock Township. Where's Rocco? I thought he'd be proud of me by now. I didn't get a chance to speak because there's a lot of people in the room, but there's 2 subjects I want to cover. First was about the skateboard park. First of all, I know that there's always time limits in this council, but I noticed that there was probably between 8 to 10 young adults and kids that still wanted to speak. So giving them a time limit and cutting them off is not like the best way to, I think, introduce the council to the public because they're very nervous. They were even saying it back there, I don't want to speak, I'm nervous. And then finally when everybody was speaking, they were raising their hand and they wanted to say something. So, you know, next time, I think if you have a special, you know, presentation done, let everybody speak. But I do think that it is a good idea to let these kids and young adults explore the option of having a skate park. We talk about different outlets and kids that need some support. You know, we give support to our school systems with all of their sports and everything, but you do have kids that do need other outlets. So regardless of whether it's about budgeting, money, about where we're going to put something, David, look at me. We were kids once, right?
We were.
We were.
Okay.
It goes by quick. It goes by really quick. And you don't realize how short life is. So let them explore and let them have an opportunity to learn about budgeting, about proposing and developing a strategy. Because the kids back there were really, really excited about it. And I was even telling them, I'm whispering to them, well, you got to develop a strategy. And it's not just about money, but I was telling them too, you have to develop a plan. What's going to happen 5, 10, 15 years down the road? The cost for something. So maybe it's good to get a team together, yourself, someone with Parks and Recs, let them sit down and learn about it and come up with a plan and see what we could do for them. I don't have kids. I support a lot of things in this township. And I could tell you I have kids that come up to my house and I'll buy a football coupon card. I can't tell you, I wind up with 30 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. It's not, I don't eat them. I just buy them because they'll come up to me and I will support anything as long as it's for a kid. And I absolutely love kids. And I'll tell you, I had a hard day at work today and it was great to see a whole bunch of kids in here so excited about something. So just give them an opportunity to let them learn and do something good for them. And hey, look, I'm an avid jogger. Maybe I want to learn skateboarding one day.
Right.
I just want to learn different things. Maybe it could be a park not just for skateboarding, but for other purposes. Or maybe it's good to put areas where people can watch.
Right, some picnic tables and things
and
like
I do,
that.
really quick, I do remember when I was a kid and we moved here, we did have the BMX. And I was one of those kids that rode back there. And we had so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, as time goes on, it gets used for other things, but I really think you should give these kids an opportunity. They'll do something really good for this township, I think. So I hope you support them. Also, I just want to comment, too, about the hoedown with the dogs allowed.
I do have a dog. She's a year and a month now. I did bring her to the street fair, and then I had heard and read some comments. I'll bring my dog wherever I want. I really don't care. And I hope nobody ever walks up to me when I'm in a park and tells me that I can't bring my dog in there. Because she's not only trained, she's very well kept, and I take care of my dog better than some people take care of themselves or their kids. So I think next year that rule has to change, or give some kind of opportunity for people to bring their skateboards, to bring their scooters, to bring their pets, and let them enjoy the day.
Right.
And unfortunately, I couldn't go because I was running a half marathon in Connecticut. So, but otherwise, I'll tell you what, I would have gone there and I would have brought her, and I'll do it.
I agree with you. I think we're becoming more like a police state, and all these rules, and the rules that you can't even enforce really, and to enforce them halfway is not good either. We need to take another look at it.
I mean, we talk about geese and fowl and all of these other things that happen, but for one day, let people enjoy it. Let people enjoy, bring their kids, bring their families. If they have a pet, that's fine. I don't think it's going to get carried away. But actually, there was a young girl that did a farmer's market. She did a stand in the farmer's market. She made dog treats and all. And I was so proud of her for the few years that we did have it, because she was like a young entrepreneur. She enjoyed doing it. And, you know, I would have loved and supported her if she was even there. I don't know if she was. But those are things that when you shut people out, you're not going to pique their interest. And that's just not the township I think that we would want to be. So I hope you just consider those few things that I made points on. And that's it.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. We're good, everybody? All right. Is there a closed session?
Excuse me.
Oh, do you want to collect one? Last but not least.
Greg DeBeast, 480 Turnpike. Maybe I'm here the wrong week, but I thought we were going to talk about the half marathon. Approval for the
It was approved.
It was approved.
We approved it.
You guys were
With
fast,
no
thank you.
fanfare, no.
So you're good, you don't even have to
There was
speak.
a resolution, 2015-163.
I believe it was reworked from the last time we worked out the
Yes.
issues, and it was a non-event, so you're good to go.
Sorry to make you.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
I hope you had a good evening.
You want to discuss it more?
The skate, actually, for a second, yes. But yeah, the skate park thing was really, for having 5 kids, I think it's a great idea. I really hope it comes to fruition, so I will say that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say there's some maybe things looked at a little bit deeper this year, which is great. I know you're getting more and more applications from other people looking to put races on the calendar. I don't know, maybe I can help a little bit with that, because I direct probably the 2 biggest races in town, going on my 12th race already. If there's a way I can help you, I just want you to think about that. Liaison between a new applicant and yourselves before they really get in deep. And yeah, I don't have this fully thought out, but I'm willing to help beyond my races if there's a way to do that. So just keep that in mind. And
Maybe next year, and this year the half marathon is benefiting Newbridge.
yes, correct.
Maybe next year can benefit the skateboard.
Well, possibly, and believe me, it could probably benefit both, and I have that in mind already. Thank you, yes.
All right. Thanks a lot. No. Okay, is there anything for closed session?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right, so do I have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
All in favor?